know if that helped in the past. Hi, welcome to Hashtag General. I'm your host, Logan Seeley. Joining me as always is Chris Akamura. How's it going, Chris?
Not bad, not bad. And yourself?
Apparently I'm sounding kind of robot-y on your end.
No, you're better. You're good.
Oh, better? Okay. No, that was... I, of course, was putting down to check my phone to make sure I had it set up right, and James was like, you're live! Just...
I gave you a 10-second warning.
As-
Yeah, you did give me a 10-second warning. I totally walked into that on my own.
Not a time to fix any other things. You gotta just count down from 10.
So, how's it going, Chris? What you been up to?
Not much. I've been putting these new consoles through their paces a little bit, and then what else I've been doing? I'm watching Queen's Gambit on repeat almost for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, we're going to
Pretty
talk
much
about
it.
Queen's Gambit because I literally finished it. What did I want to say? 20? At this point, probably closer to like 40 minutes ago. So
Yeah,
it's fresh in
it's
my memory. Um,
yeah. I probably
but
watch the last episode at least once a day because it's the kind of thing that I just have in the background as I'm doing stuff.
yeah,
Um,
it's a really good show, and we're gonna go a little
yeah,
more in
we'll go balls
depth
deep.
later. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of in the same thing where I've been watching Queen's Gambit, keeping up on like Mandalorian. I uh haven't been playing as much games because a lot of it has been like I sold to Charles, who's was on Blue Post podcast and actually filled in for you, Chris, and like back in February. I sold him my old computer, so I was getting that prepped, and then I was also doing like benchmarks and everything on the new computer, which we're also going to talk about. So I haven't been playing or watching as much
Makes sense.
as yeah. So it's kind of just been like a getting all that stuff done and then ready to go. So I think, if anything, let's just kind of dive into our first big topic. So, movies. Wonder Woman 1984. It's going to be going to, I believe it's still Christmas Day release in theaters, but it will also be Christmas Day release to HBO Max. And I know you and I have both said previously, and this was mostly you, and I agreed, the idea that the canary in the coal mine was going to be Black Widow. And I'm now wondering if it actually isn't going to be Wonder Woman. If this isn't going to be the normal thing for even blockbusters for the foreseeable future, where we get day and date release on streaming and on in theater.
So I don't know. I don't know if the expectations for Wonder Woman were as high as Black Widow. I don't know how the studios viewed them. I always view at least Marvel releases as somewhat a little more important to the kind of overall market. And so,
I
like to me, Black Widow still stands as like the canary in the coal mine because it's the kind of thing where I think Wonder Woman lost a ton of steam
It did.
not being in the theater,
It
whereas
did.
like whereas with the Marvel movie, like with Black Widow, to me it doesn't matter. Like the Marvel brand has kind of carried so much weight that I
The
don't think
idea
it
that they can
matters.
hold out for another year, you think, and they'd be
Yeah,
fine. I think that's fair. And with
and so
also a Disney Plus, like it's not like there is going to be, a lack of Marvel
yeah, I mean like what
content.
Falcon and Winter Soldier got pushed to we don't know when, and then Wanda and WandaVision got pushed back to January 15th. So like it's those are still they still got kind of pushed out of this year, but even then I don't like there's still a fervor for all that stuff.
Yeah,
Whereas I don't know if people still have the same level of excitement for Wonder Woman. So like even if they release even if they held and released it in theaters, you just lose more and more value. Whereas something with like I was saying with Black Widow, like I don't think that loses any value the longer you wait.
yeah. Because I think what it is too is marketing loss. I remember
Yeah.
reading, I think it was in Variety, that MGM, when it was rumored that No Time to Die was possibly going to Apple, someone broke I think, Variety that apparently MGM had floated the idea and was basically asking for 600 million for No Time to Die. And a
Yeah.
lot of that, and what they said in there is that MGM had already lost close to 60 million on the film just because they have had to sit on it.
Yeah.
And so my guess is that isn't that it's burning cash literally so much as they, by sitting there, it's that they did two major marketing pushes only for it to get pushed back two times due to the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I wonder if this whole thing, because MGM, after the rumors broke, saying this isn't gonna, came out and said this isn't going to happen. But I wonder if they were just floating that idea to see if like Netflix or Apple or Amazon or someone would be willing to pay basically what they would normally make back in theater gross from like Skyfall. Because Skyfall broke over 1 billion gross worldwide. And it's safe, like, after you factor in, like, exchange rates and cuts for theaters and everything, it's like, this is really, really back of napkin math and not an accurate number, but it's always safe to kind of just do half. Be like, okay, they probably made, I think Skyfall made like 1.2, so 600 million. They basically were trying to be like, can we recoup the cost or the revenue we would have received from the theater release and just have it be paid for by like a tech company. I don't know if no one went for it or if they were just kind of seeing what happened, but I think, I think we're going to see more of this, but yeah, I think you kind of nailed it though with Marvel, where it's that brand still carries enough recognition that I also don't think they would release a Star Wars movie this way. I think they would hold it.
Yeah. And I think like the thing that Marvel and Disney are kind of lucky about too is like Wonder Woman was supposed to come out really early in the year, and like they were in full marketing push when the pandemic hit, where like Wonder Woman, like those commercials, those trailers, everything was dropping. Like that movie was ready to go in like days or weeks.
Yeah, I think it was like a June release.
Yeah, where Marvel tends to market push pretty late. They tend to release trailers and start doing like the press and the marketing push, and the toy releases like right up to the movie.
Yeah, I want to say it's
release.
like 2 weeks prior is when the Marvel and Disney marketing machines turn on full steam.
Yeah,
whereas Warner Brothers still follows like the more traditional approach where they're putting out material and they kind of do like a ramp up.
Yeah, and so like that way, DC and Warner Brothers probably put it out and lost way more money and way more push than Marvel did.
Yeah, I think the real question too now is going to be how many people sign up for HBO Max for this, and I don't know. I
would assume less people that signed up for Disney Plus for The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I would agree. I liked the first Wonder Woman movie, and even said when it came out that was the movie that should have come out first for the DC universe.
Sure.
But it still was like not as good as, like, I wouldn't have called it like the best superhero movie of the year when it came out. So I don't know how many people are lining up for 84 in that same way. But it's still a major tentpole release that has just gone, screw it, we're not going to even try and wait anymore.
Right.
Which is also kind of what happened with Mulan in some ways. And that did not... I haven't looked too deep into it, but I got the sense that Mulan wasn't really the success that Disney expected it would be.
No. And I think, like... Well, first it comes down... I fully expect Wonder Woman to be a better film than Mulan. But I think the thing comes down to the pricing model, too. I think that people were pretty skittish for the premium Disney Plus pricing model.
Yeah.
I think that model's dead.
I do too. I think if anything, I think that would have been viable if theaters were still open, because I could see families buying the premium stream for 30,
Right.
because it's cheaper than going to the theater. You don't have to worry about the kids disrupting other, like if you have young kids, like
Right.
that type of thing. But yeah, I wasn't gonna spend $30 on it. Because I was like, it's inevitably gonna hit regular Disney Plus at some point.
In a couple weeks.
Yeah,
So,
I
I'll
was.
watch it then. I'll make a judgment at the film then. But yeah, I think it's a combination of like people didn't like the film, it got really bad buzz, and then the pricing model was just people didn't want to pay for it. So
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's. I think the whole thing is just gonna be interesting to watch, but who knows where things land. Um, but yeah, that's it for movies, which has been consistently our. I feel like this topic for like the past few months has literally been, let's talk about how everything is slowly dying.
well,
Uh,
like this is what I was trying to think of. So I read an article, and it's the kind of thing where like you read the headline, you go, "That's not true," and then you think about it, you're like, "Huh," because the headline was something like "Queen's Gambit is the best piece of media released in 2020," and I thought about it, and I was like, "It's really good," but like, really? And I thought about it, and I was like, "Nothing's come out this year."
yeah,
Nothing.
it's not that this show is not good. It's fantastic. But it also came out in a year where everything kind of, unless it was planned for release pre-March, everything got pushed.
Yeah, and so yeah, my thought wasn't that Queen Gambit wasn't good because I might have picked Queen's Gambit even if it was a normal year. I might have picked
Hmm.
Queen's Gambit. That's how much I love that show. But it's the idea of like I don't know if you can be that definitive about it. And then I thought about it and I was like, I guess you could actually technically be that
Yeah,
definitive about it. Like,
because this year it's just like, I remember for a while there was a joke going that Bad Boys for Life, which came out in January, was going to be quite possibly the top grossing film of the year just because pandemic killed the tentpole season.
right,
And it's just like how media is made and consumed has gone through a complete like seismic shift. A lot, like we've said, like I know you and I both have said this on previous episodes, it's like a lot of this shift was inevitable and kind of where everything was heading, but it was like 10 years from now, not literally
right.
tomorrow.
It just shifted it way up.
Yeah, but let's start talking consoles because I would love to have you just kind of fill us in. Um, I am kind of tempted by the Xbox because of Game Pass. I've been actually subscribing to Game Pass on their PC, so which I actually am starting to appreciate being able, like, it's one of those scenes where I remember being like, why would anyone pay for a music subscription service and then like you could get Spotify for free? And I'm like, oh, I kind of get now streaming music, and I'm now starting to be like, okay, I get like a game service like this. I get plenty of options. There's something that will interest me that I can download and play.
Right.
And it's just like, you know what? If I'm already paying, maybe I get an Xbox. I know James was looking at one too, just because it is a really good deal if you were, or especially like looking for like you've put it, like a second console or a just looking for a good bargain. The Xbox Series S is an amazing deal.
Absolutely.
But why don't you talk us through? Like you have both of them now, correct?
Right. I have both. I've been playing them both pretty equally. I've been trying to put them through the paces.
So let's start with Xbox and then shift to PlayStation, just so that way.
Sure.
Um,
And the thing I'm gonna say is like obviously graphically they're pretty up to par with what we've had on PC for a couple of years now. They, ray tracing and all the like are the big draws. So of course graphically they're more powerful than the old consoles. The thing that sets these apart from even like some high end PCs are the load times in the SSDs.
mhm.
And I can't say enough about how much of a game changer those are. It's the kind of thing of like, oh, cool. I had like on a PC game or on my old Xbox, on the old generation consoles. It's a thing of like, wow, I had a loading screen let me go get a drink,
Right.
let me go fill up of my water, or let me go get a snack, and I'll come back and I'll be loaded. By the time I take off my headphones, it's loaded.
Yeah, I'm looking forward for that. Like, there's some of that tech is supposed to make its way over to the PC space. Microsoft is, I think they just need to enable some things within Windows and just, other.
Right.
There's tech stuff that has to happen in the background, but right now this is a space where the consoles are beating the PC.
Absolutely. And it's totally insane. And the thing that I will say too is that there is, for the Xbox in particular, the quick resume feature is something that, yes,
iPad
oh,
and me rewind.
okay. Samantha just woke up. She, so yeah, like the quick resume feature, just I don't even know if I could go back to a console without it. And it's
And so
like,
I'm
okay,
guessing this
obviously,
is like the frozen in state thing that Apple does with the phone.
yeah,
Okay.
but so yeah, so it's basically your iPhone, right? So it's like it keeps your apps open, and then it just you click you click back on it, and it's just there, and
That's crazy.
you kind of go, wait, how's it doing that? And the thing is, it's crazy, is it does it from a cold boot. So it permanently saves your game state no matter where you are,
Wow.
unless you manually close it. But like if you just switch apps or whatever, it just keeps it open.
Wow.
And then if you fully turn off your console and then turn it back on, it
And
still
it's
saves the
there.
state. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And the thing is that's crazy is like it's not even it's not even like, oh, it throws you back to the menu or the game's still loaded, so you just have to get back to it saves the exact spot you're at. So like I was playing Fallen Order through Game Pass. And again, it's not optimized for Xbox Series X. Like it's pretty much running the Xbox One version of it, right? Because it's not optimized for the
Yeah.
console. But like I jumped off of, or I was falling off of a cliff, and I was like, screw it, I have to go, and I turned off my console, right? And then I
And you
came
opened it
back.
up back again and you continued your fall.
Well, not only that, I came back playing it 4 days later,
My God.
and I booted up the game thinking I would go to the load screens or the menus, whatever, and it just dropped me into the thing where I'm
It
falling
dropped
off
you
a
into
cliff
the
and
thing where
dying.
you drop into
And I was
the
like,
abyss.
what the hell? And I had to remember what I was doing that like caused me to do that, and I was
Like,
like,
I can't
oh wait,
think
yeah, that's right.
of an actual technical reason why that shouldn't be possible on a PC2, other than the fact that that's just not how any software or operating system
Functions.
has. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that like I didn't know that I wanted. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where it's like I didn't know that this was going to be a big deal, but like now that having it, it's such
Well,
a
it's
luxury.
there's been a couple things like that where I can think of where something that I would not have put uh, as a, oh, this is going to actually change how I feel about the tech or what I'm using. I would say the first time I remember that was when we got high speed internet after dial up. You just can't go back.
Yeah,
The next time I think was, I would say, like the shift from a hard drive to an SSD. Like, you just are like, holy, like going back to a hard spinning disk is rough. Because everything is just so slow.
yeah.
And it's even
It's funny how
crazier.
most of these are speed things.
Yeah. But then another one, and this is something where I would actually, and I would talk about this a bit more with when we talk about my computer, but I would say jumping to the 144 hertz refresh display. When I originally was blown away by it, I was like, "Oh man, it's this high refresh rate," and I realized it's not high refresh rate that really made it for me. It was the adaptive refresh rate. Like, I'm still fine if a game is only hitting like 60-ish frames a second, but adaptive refresh means that even if it drops a little bit, it still looks amazing.
Right.
So yeah, you're telling me this, and I'm already just going like cursing about how I was super excited with how fast my loading times were with my new computer because I had an NVMe SSD, and now I'm hearing this, and I'm like, yeah, that's still not anywhere near that.
Yeah, and like again, it comes down to a thing of it just these consoles do just the little quality of life stuff. I think the PS5 controller is what sets that apart. We can talk about that a little later, but like both of them, the thing is the load times are insane. And it's the kind of thing where it completely changes the way you play games because it's stuff where it's like so like I've been playing a ton of 2K because 2K is the only game that I have that was upgraded for the Xbox Series X, right? Where like you buy the current gen and then it
Yeah.
upgrades you to the next gen one, right? So the only game that I had that did that was NBA 2K, and so I've been playing a ton of that. So obviously graphically it looks great, but also that game has a lot of like I play my team, so it has a lot of challenges. So like it's just a grind fest, right? So like say there's a game called Triple Threat where it's a 3-on-3 mode and you play against a computer. And so it takes me 5 minutes to beat a computer, whatever. But it would take me 2-3 minutes to load into the game and then
Right.
and
Now
then load back out of the
it's
game.
actually not that big of a pain in the it's not a pain in the butt to load into the game to play for 3
I
minutes.
timed it. It actually is 5 minutes now. So I'm cutting off literally all of the load time. There
Wow.
is no load time. The load times total were about 3 seconds.
Wow.
So like So like when you think about it that way, right? In a 10-minute period, I can usually only play one of them, or like one game to grind because of the load times. But
And here I
now I
was
can play
ex-
two, maybe three if I beat the computer fast enough, right?
and here I was excited when my new computer loaded Stellaris in under 30 seconds.
Yeah, like it was shocking to me, like how incredibly low times. And the thing is, like, it's not like they're loading. It's not like it's loading fucking Minesweeper or something. Like, it's loading complicated like graphically intense, impressive stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's not like these are easy things to load. Um, so yeah, it's been a game changer again, just because the thing of oh, I have 20 minutes. Let me swing around Spider-Man and play Spider-Man for a little bit. And it's like if I was on PlayStation 4, that would mean 15 minutes of turning on my PS4, loading into the game, and getting onto the map, and then 5 minutes of actually playing.
Yeah.
Or now it is literally maybe 2 minutes of turning on my PS4, loading the game, and then I have 18 minutes to play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Um that's insane. So let's just go back to the Xbox. Why don't you do like pros for the Xbox and then we can switch for PlayStation, do pros for the PlayStation rather than do like a which one's better? Just like what are the things
So
that you think
like,
stand out for each?
I'm not going to mention the SSDs because both of them load extremely quickly. I think things specific to the Xbox, I think, are the controller feels great. It's everything that you'd want. It's just an upgraded Xbox One controller. Full backwards compatibility, Game Pass is a huge thing. Um, you can put it either in a pro or a con. That the UI is exactly the same as the Xbox One. It's clean, it's snappy, it works, but it's nothing special. I enjoy the form factor of the Xbox One more. It's just less awkward. It's smaller. Uh, it's it's whisper quiet. Like that thing does not make a sound. Uh, trying to think what else. The quick resume, like I keep talking about, is the huge plus for me. Um, that's about it. I mean, in terms of cons, the only thing you can say really is like there's no real exclusive games for it yet. but those
Yeah,
are coming
they
down the
all got
pipeline.
pushed to like next year essentially.
Yeah, so like I'm not putting that against it.
Like that's just 2020, honestly. It's
Right.
like your
Like
con list is 2020, YOLO,
yeah,
shrug.
like I'm not gonna knock it for that. But yeah, like the games, the console itself is extremely impressive.
All
Uh,
right.
for PlayStation,
Right. PlayStation
uh,
10.
it's the controller. It comes down to the controller. The controller is one of the most insane things I've ever seen, and I gotten a chance to use. So the two big things with the controller are the vibrations. So like the haptic vibrations. So remember when the Switch came out, and I was trying to talk to you about
Yeah, you
the
you literally had to put the Joy-Con in our hands for us to understand why you were excited.
right where the I think I had you play 1-2 switch with the balls, and you
Yes.
can move around the balls, and then the vibrations, like you can feel the balls in the thing.
Yeah, no, it was like
Uh,
on a technical like an engineering level. Holy crap.
right. So I think the Switch one just is still more impressive because of this form factor, because it's so small. But the DualSense has a better version of that vibration in it. So it does have a full like taptic haptic engine, like where full control vibrations, and like you can feel everything that's in there. And then stuff like the haptic, or the not haptic trigger, the adaptive triggers they call them, where like if I'm playing Spider-Man and I need to pull on a rope or I need to pull on something, the triggers get harder to pull. Like as Spider-Man as Miles is struggling to pull this thing,
That is
your controller gets harder to pull the triggers on,
that is really cool.
right? So it's just a little more immersion, a little more, um, yeah, I guess immersion is the best way to
Just
put it, right?
yeah,
Like,
it's because that's not that literally is immersion. It's the it's this is not a one-to-one example, but it's reminding me of us talking about the difference between surround sound and Atmos,
right,
where it's like surround sound is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But Atmos is when done correctly, like is like kind of astonishing what you can do with sound.
yeah,
But this seems like that where it isn't like on a like is it necessary for games to do that? No, but it's definitely one of those things that adds to the a level of depth.
right.
That's really
It's
cool.
just an extra thing, right?
Yeah.
And so that becomes such a huge factor when you're talking about a controller and what it can do.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like yeah, that controller is such a special thing, and it's sort of the PS5's game changer. And plus, like they launched with the launch. They launched it with the launch game.
Yeah, they have Miles
Xbox did
Morales.
not,
Yeah.
but Miles is so good, and it does everything that the original Spider-Man game did, like the 2018 Spider-Man game did.
A lady might come over and she needs some pots. You know, flower pots.
Okay, hold
No
on.
problem.
But yeah,
Hi,
yeah,
Alan.
like it does everything that the original 2018 games did, but but Miles is that and more, and it does it does the thing I love. It does the thing that I love, where the game is only like 4 hours long. The story of it is only like 4 hours. So it does everything it needs to in a lot more uh, easily consumable package, that you're not sitting there, and it has no bloat. The game is lean, the story is lean, it moves at a brisk pace, and it teaches you everything you need to know about Miles, and shows that character, and it has 2 or 3 moments in it that make me cry, and it has all that emotional beat that you want from a Spider-Man game that you need from a game like that. But it just delivers it to you in a lot cleaner package. And I heard someone say this earlier of, I would love it if I didn't get uh, a gigantic AAA game every 4 to 5 years, but we got these small,
Yeah,
bite-sized games once every once a year or once every couple of years.
that's one of the things I enjoyed about Star Wars Squadrons was the fact that I think that campaign was only maybe I think beat it in like 6 hours,
Right.
maybe a
But
little bit
would you pay?
longer.
Would you want that every
Yeah, like if
every
I got that
year or
every
every other
year,
year?
every other year, that would be fantastic. Like I don't mind. Like I'm looking forward to Cyberpunk. I clearly don't mind games that require you to spend 80 hours at least to like get through the main storyline, and you could still leave like huge amounts of spaces like untouched.
Yeah.
But there are
Like
times where it's just nice to be like, I'm here to play this story with a character or universe I appreciate, and I don't necessarily need it to be forever.
yeah, because I think the thing too is games as service is kind of taken over the market, where
Hmm.
you're expected to play these games for years and years and years and years. Where, okay, that's great, and a lot of that comes down to the multiplayer component, or the long form stuff. Like a game like Solaris, or a game like League of Legends, those will never end, and those are never games where it's cool, we're done, we're moving on to the next game. These are just games that live,
Yes.
and you jump in, jump out, whatever. The thing is that as those become more prevalent, games like The Witcher or games like Cyberpunk, they're just massive. There's times where I go, I don't care about this huge open world thing. Just give me this story and let me blow through it so I can get back to the other things I need to get back to.
Yeah, no, it's like it's the adulting reality where it's like
Right,
as you are like there are times where it's just like I just kind of want to kick back and play my game. I don't necessarily want to feel like it becomes like another chore.
right.
Um, so unless I'm really excited about the universe, like Witcher or Cyberpunk, or really get into the story, like I actually kind of side note, I think GTA 5 is an amazing piece of satire. And I
It
don't think a
is.
lot of people realize because they get so caught up in the headlines about GTA that they miss how it is like a wonderfully written satire of American culture. And it's which I appreciate. And you know what? I looked at GTA less as a like Miles Morales and Star Wars Squadrons were like the movie equivalent of a game where you are going to beat it in maybe a weekend or maybe two, depending on what your schedule's like. But then that's it. Like you might never if you ever touch the game again, it's because you want to, not because you're like, oh man, I still need to beat the story. Whereas GTA is more like the mini series. That's the game that you're gonna pick up and play just over time. And I
Right.
like having games like that, but at the same time, like you know what? Like that's one of the reasons why as much as Battlefront 2 had all its flaws, I really enjoyed its campaign. And that also was another instance where the campaign isn't that long,
Yeah.
but it tells its story. It does a decent job telling it. And you know what? Great. I don't need a
Yeah.
20-hour campaign. And I remember,
I did the same thing with Fallen Order, where I was just like, all right, let me turn down the difficulty all the way down, and let me just blow through this game as quickly as possible to get the story of it.
I
And
still need to
and
beat
honestly,
Jedi
doing
Fallen
that,
Order.
what's up?
I still need to beat Jedi Fallen Order.
It's so good, Logan. The story was so good. But yeah,
Honestly, I've been literally, it's been on my, especially since Cyberpunk got pushed. I'm like, my goal was to beat it before Cyberpunk comes out.
hey man,
And I got
just
the new
remember,
system. I can turn everything up to max. Thanksgiving weekend is all Jedi Fallen Order all the time. Also some pumpkin pie. But yeah, I agree. I remember this is at one point when Roger Ebert was writing about, and I think in the long run he was proven wrong, where he said one of the reasons why video games can't be considered really art yet is not wasn't the work being done or the stories being told. It was that the criticism of the game was too focused on how long the campaign was. Not like, is the campaign as long as it needs to be? Was it too short or too long because like story elements get lost? Because there have been movies where we've gone into it and been like, that movie was 30 minutes too long because it just dragged and it needed to have stuff cut out. And he's like, if your main thing is this game is perfect, it's amazing, it tells an amazing story, but it's only 4 hours of campaign play, so I'm going to knock it 2 points. He's like, we can't say you're judging it as art. You're judging it based off of like a unrealistic metric that art shouldn't be held to.
Sure.
And I think what you're saying, and I think what's happening with some of these is I feel like I wonder how much of it is just the expense of making games like Cyberpunk or GTA. But it's also the fact that I think the gaming audience has gotten more and more older.
Right.
Because,
well, like I think the thing that we're seeing is like, so the last two games to do this well to me were Miles Morales and Uncharted Lost Legacy, right? Both of them were built off of assets and engines that were made for other games. So like obviously Uncharted 4 and 2018 Spider-Man, right? Like they're both of them like Miles Morales, that map of New York is exactly the same as 2018 Spider-Man.
yeah.
And I understand the work that goes into making it set in Christmas. So like all of the snow and the Christmas decorations and dressing up that city to make it look like Christmas in New York. Right. And I get I get the undertaking that is. And so I'm not saying that that's easy, but I'm saying like the large map and a lot of huge lifting that you needed to do to make that game is lessened by having that already ready to go.
Yeah, it's
And
riding
so
your
yeah,
bike.
you can afford
You're changing it to like a lower gear.
right. And so you can afford to have that game be smaller and be cheaper and
Yes.
and have a quicker experience because you don't need that game to last 40 hours and keep players excited for 40 hours.
Yeah, I think Squadrons, I know they made assets or remade assets for Squadrons, but a lot of the stuff in there was like had to have been pulled from Battlefront.
Yeah, of course.
And it's kind of the same boat.
There's no way they make a $40 Star Wars game.
Well, actually, we know that's the case. There's no way in hell they would have designed a Venator cruiser for that game.
Yeah,
And
like
put it in if they were just like pulling from something else.
Yeah, there's no way they made that game with the amount of time they had and the amount of budget they had and sold it for the price point they had if that game didn't share assets with another thing.
Yeah.
There's no way.
And I think I appreciate the fact that I don't have to dedicate days upon days. Like, it took me a while to beat Squadrons, not because it was hard, but because I would play like a mission a night.
Yeah. Like I beat Miles in 2 days, but that's because I played them for 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the night. And as soon as I got to a good stopping point, I was like, cool, let me stop for the night and let me pick it up tomorrow. And then I just blew through that game, not because I was rushing to the end, but because it was short and because there was never anything in that game that like slowed me down like I was expecting. There wasn't anything where I wasn't excited to get around the next corner, which for Spider-Man 2018, as great as that game is, it's long, and there's times where you're like, oh, I have to do another one of these. All right, I'm gonna turn off for the night.
Yeah,
Where
been
Miles never
there.
had that. It was all variation. It was all different stuff. Story beats were super interesting. There's never a slow moment in that game,
Getting rid
which
of
is
the
so
fetch
cool.
quests.
Yeah, like every game has fetch quests like that. But like the Miles Morales ones were cool and they were fun and they were different. And like, you
All
know,
right.
that's the kind of game that I'm happy a console launched with that because it again I hope it sells well because I want to see more stuff like that.
Yeah, agreed. Last topic in games. This is kind of quick. I only threw it on here because it kind of touches briefly on what we discussed a couple episodes back about licensing games, in the sense that the RAAA, the probably most evil group ever, because they're the RAAA. I mean, if you don't know who they are, they're the reason why DRM exists, and you should hate them. They basically really went hard on Twitch over the fact that a lot of people who stream games will often be streaming music at the same time, and of course that music isn't licensed. The RAAA, while being technically correct, which according to Futurama is the best kind of correct, it's still also the RAAA, which means it's like the one organization where it's like, you might be right, but I still hate you. Because it just it was a mess for a bunch of people. Where
Yeah,
they
it's
like,
been really sad to sort of see the I don't know how much you've seen Logan, but like having working in the gaming industry, it's like really depressing to see the emotional sort of effect of everyone having to delete content.
yeah, and from what I
And like,
heard is like Twitch did not have enough time to essentially Twitch wasn't to give enough time to where they were unable to give enough time for people to download all their content. So a bunch of people lost years, if not more, of content.
so when you're talking about hours lost on Twitch, right? Meaning
Hmm.
the amount of VODs that were deleted on Twitch over the course of the last month, it is about 90%. 90 to 95% of the VODs on Twitch are now gone through its history.
Yeah. I remember reading somewhere where someone was like, the moment they got that news, they created a system to start auto downloading. Basically, they wrote a bot to download all their content.
Yeah.
And they still
So,
couldn't download everything before Twitch just killed it.
yeah. Well, Twitch didn't kill it. It was
Well,
just
Twitch,
yeah, right.
quote.
They were
It
getting
got,
sued, so
yeah, they
they
were
were
getting
like,
sued. They really didn't. Twitch honestly didn't have an option here. And it's like I said during the gaming stream, just because about gaming streaming, just because you can do it doesn't mean you technically might have the rights to do what you're doing. Now, within playing video
it's just
games, like
it's
most
just a
people have,
stupid move.
yeah, it is a dumb move, and it's being done by like an organization that has historically done like bad moves. Like no one is gonna be like, it's like my thing. It's like people who are getting their stuff taken down. It's just like I'm not surprised because you guys were streaming music in the background.
Right.
But at the same time, the RAAA is like the biggest dick in the room. Like
Right.
I'm not gonna sit there and it's one of those cases where I think like, because I know for like James and I, because we didn't come up in game streaming, we came up in like production. Your first mind or thought when you're applying music to anything is, do I have the rights to this or not?
Right.
And that's just something that a lot of people wouldn't have thought about. And I hope people are able to adjust. I get wanting to be able to play music, have music playing while you play a game, because, you know, sometimes you just need like just something in the background.
So the cool thing that people are doing, Spotify has gotten on board with this too.
Oh, does
And it's
Spotify join
good.
the soundtrack?
No, so what they've gotten into now is, uh, like if I'm a streamer what I do is I listen to music and I just mute the music on my stream.
Mm-hmm.
So like I can hear the music, but like my fans or whoever's watching can't hear the music. But there's a Spotify link that you can click on my channel where like, hey, you can open Spotify and here's my playlist and what I'm listening to, and so we can just listen to it together. But
Okay,
it's
that's
not
really
on the
cool.
stream; it's not recorded.
That's
You know what I'm
actually really
saying?
cool and really smart.
Yeah,
I knew there was a Spotify integration. I never realized that's what it did. Um,
yeah.
that's really cool.
So like that's like what people are doing now, which is totally fine. Again, I have no problem with it because again, this is something that people were warned about for years of like, hey, they
Yes,
could come after us. Like, it's not like this is a huge surprise.
exactly.
And like people are blaming Twitch, where it's like Twitch told people for years. It was just a thing of like they never enforced it. Like the
Yeah,
companies never enforced it, so it's not like I don't blame Twitch for any of this mess. The the thing that I will say is like the thing that's to me is sad is like the loss of history, right? So like
hmm
one of my friends was a thing of like she's been streaming for 5 or 6 years now, and she's having a she's pregnant, and so she was looking forward to like sharing these memories with her daughter and like sharing these memories with her child.
and they're gone.
So the thing is like now she has to delete them and she doesn't have a chance to keep these memories. Like
Yeah,
that's sad
it is.
and it sucks. And
It's
like I
this is
get it.
something I think more people need to start throwing shade at the RAAA. Because like again, like it's like all they are capable of doing is the dick move. It's like they
Yeah.
don't realize that there are other options. There isn't a yes, you are right. People should not be streaming this. They should know better.
Like
Doesn't
my
mean
thing
that
was like
Twitch should have only been given like basically just enough time to warn everybody, hey, we're gonna delete your shit.
no, they didn't delete it. I don't think see look, I don't think
I
this is
have a
I think
feeling
this
they
is
didn't delete it either, but it's still like no one can access it.
no, they can access it. Look, this is the I don't think you're getting what
Oh,
happened. So they didn't. Twitch didn't delete anything. Twitch was banning accounts if you got RNA strike. So in order
mm,
to avoid getting banned, you would have to delete your own VODs
got
before
it.
they got struck. So like Twitch didn't do anything other than like, hey, we have to ban you because you have this strike on you.
Got it. So in other words,
And
if you
so
wanted to keep streaming, you had to get rid of
delete
everything.
your VODs.
And they only
So
had a
Twitch
limited
didn't
amount. God, that's even worse.
right. And so the question became like do I risk like do I risk not deleting it and getting struck like or do I delete it now before that any of that even becomes a factor? And so that was a big question for a lot of people. And the thing is like I could see it very easily where they're just like, "Hey, we're going to start cracking down on this. Please stop in the future. Like if you use it past this date, you're going to be struck and banned or whatever." The thing for me that kind of is the dick move is when you go back 10 years and like the one time I used music 10 years ago in a clip in the background that's playing that I'm not even playing, that my friend's playing in the background of my dorm or whatever.
Right.
And you're going to strike me for that.
It was like when the mom got in trouble for sharing a video of her son dancing to Prince music.
Yeah. Where it's
Where it's
like,
like, people
oh,
aren't going, like, you're not going to download that to rip the Prince
yeah.
song. Like, it's just not, that's not at all going to happen.
No,
It's,
but like, even then, like it's a thing of, dude, how far back do you guys want to go? Like when you're talking about if you're a professional streamer, you have literally thousands and thousands of hours of content. Even if you're someone that's very conscious about this stuff, over those thousands and thousands of hours of content, there's going to be something in there that's
oh, no, no, no,
without
no.
your knowledge, copyright, or like,
I can even speak to this in the sense that these systems are also garbage. There
yeah,
is one thing I made in film school where everything was the original source was through Creative Commons, but since I altered it, technically, in the eyes of how copyright works, the music being used would have been like technically mine, like because I altered the original source. Technicality, but whatever.
Best kind of technicality.
Yeah, best kind of
Yeah, it's like
technicality.
in Creative Commons typically, like a condition of using that music is that you can't. Sometimes you have to share alike, and everything that you make using Creative Commons stuff has to then also be Creative Commons, just
Yes.
to like not be a dick.
Yeah. Basically, it was like I took a piece of Chopin music, and because I had no ability to convert it to MIDI, I found someone who had converted it to MIDI, and then I altered the MIDI source. So it was like one of those things where it's like on a technical level, yes, I could claim copyright. Everything was done under Creative Commons. I think that one didn't have a share alike requirement, but I get flagged every like 2 years. It seems like some new company in some different country will flag and be like, hey, I have the rights to that. And I want to be like, no, not only is it Creative Commons, it's Chopin. It's a piano music that's in the public domain. And it's like, you don't have the rights to this at all. And I still get flagged for it.
And you're saying that like this piece of music that you used, the recording itself was generated by you.
Yes.
Like all you got was the pre-played MIDI file.
I got a
which
MIDI
is-
file. I altered
That's
the
what's
MIDI
really weird, is
file,
that-
and
is
I
that-
exported it through GarageBand.
So your recording is still like 100% or at least unique.
Yes.
In that it's not like
Exactly.
it's not like a waveform match of someone else's recording.
Exactly. That is an entirely software-generated piano music piece that was created using a Creative Commons MIDI source of a song that is in the public domain, because Chopin is like, what, 1700s? Maybe early 1800s? I don't remember off the top of my head, but long enough ago that no one can claim copyright. I still get flagged. The last time I got flagged, it was from Korea. Before that, it was like Germany. It's just like, it's absolutely ridiculous. So that's the other thing too. People are probably getting these flags, and the system, because it's usually automated by computer, is probably very likely flagging stuff where they actually don't have the rights to the music, but claiming they do. So I honestly, like, this is just, there needs to be a better way, but the fact that you're now all of a sudden, Twitch was saying, all of the content, even if you had the rights to it, none of those systems are really good about actually letting you declare or indicate what you have rights to. You'll still get flagged. And I've run into that in some social media work where you had permission and then it got pulled down anyway because of the automated system. And then it becomes this huge hassle of where both you and the rights holder have to essentially yell at whatever social media platform to be like, no, they had permission. It's bonkers. It sucks. And it's even if
feel
you
bad.
Yeah, so even using Creative Commons music, even using stuff where you will not be in violation of copyright, you will get flagged, and it's bullshit. So, long story short, RAA, go to hell. Like, yeah, people should know better, but seriously, go to hell. Because you're the RAAA and you make everyone's life just a pain in the ass. So let's move on before we continue to complain about how the RAAA is evil incarnate. Because they are. Tech. So AMD's graphics cards launched. They, of course, had a huge advantage where if they had cards available, they could eat NVIDIA's lunch. Guess what they didn't have, Chris?
What?
They didn't have cards available. Evidently, and this is based off like places like I've been like listening to like Jay's 2 Cents and like Hardware Unbox. So these are people who actually have connections within like the hardware side, there were less supplies of AMD's cards than there were of Ampere cards for like the 2080 launch. So everyone was complaining about the 2080 being a paper launch, and this one is like they're still cutting down the tree. if the 2080 was a paper launch, they just hired the loggers over at AMD. It's not good. Apparently some stores, like Micro Centers, were getting like single digit shipments
Yikes.
of cards. And here's the thing, all of the testing and benchmarking that had come back, the NVIDIA cards I still think are the better card. I know you think the same thing too.
Yeah.
But the AMD cards were, if you ignore ray tracing, which was essentially the requirement for them to be, competitive, outside of ray tracing, these scenes were, going blow for blow with the NVIDIA cards. AMD could have been competitive. And if AMD had the stock, people were probably going to switch off the NVIDIA card just because they would have been able to get their hands on an AMD card. Now,
right.
It's sad when the card that no one can get a hold of is still easier to get a hold of than the card that was is supposed to be competitive with it. Like, you can't be, if you want the number 2 guy and you're wanting to eat the number 1 guy's lunch, you can't make less than them.
Right.
So, yeah. Good job, AMD. Way to blow it.
Very true.
I don't really have much more to say about it other than like benchmark wise, evidently cost per performance, especially when you factor in a lot of the tech NVIDIA has in, the 3070 is still a better deal than the 6800. The 6800 XT is arguably a better bargain than the 3080. But if you factor in NVIDIA software again, it is probably not worth the $50 in savings. So, yay, they're competitive, but you're
at what cost?
Gonna have you're gonna have an easier time getting a 3080, which is impossible to get, and you're gonna probably have a system that is, at least right now on the technical level, better at the high end. Even though, yes, the AMD card has more memory. So they blew it. They blew it.
Again, these are stuff like this is the reason why I don't like AMD. And like I know we talked about this earlier, but like these are tons of reasons why.
Yeah, let's hope their drivers aren't as non-existent as their cards. Yeah. Let's move along. So, my computer is up and running. Yay, no sparks. Still a ton of boxes around me. But, hey, no sparks. So...
yeah, that's a plus.
It's a major plus. I shared with you some like early benchmarks I had done. This thing is a beast.
I would hope so.
Oh god, like I started recording some benchmarks just to like, not just like, I don't mean like taking benchmarks and writing them down. I actually started like recording in OBS, and I accidentally left the NVENC on. So it's using the graphics card to process the video, which when I'm trying to like make my graphics card go fast, not the best way to do it, right? I have all the settings in GTA 5 to max. I mean, literally every setting I could max out in GTA 5 I had maxed out. And I was recording in OBS using NVENC. I never dropped below, I think, 40 frames a second with everything at max. And when I realized what I had done and I switched it off NVENC to be run off the processor instead, like I got a boost to where now nothing dropped below 50 frames a second. Like literally everything max, like anti-aliasing, shaders, anything. So, hey James, you want to ban that guy who just posted?
I don't know. I do want to become famous by
You wanna become
followers,
famous?
frames, and
Yeah.
viewers. I don't know how to ban people, but
We'll figure it out later.
I'm unable to do such things.
What's the thing that you've run on there? Like the most that have you tried to push it yet?
have started
Has
playing
anything
around.
pushed it yet?
The most I haven't done Fortnite in like actual gameplay yet, but I did do Fortnite with ray tracing on. Fortnite with ray tracing on with DLSS off and all of the ray tracing settings to low, but everything else basically to max. I would bottom out at maybe I think like 32 frames a second at 1440p in Fortnite. The moment I would turn on DLSS, if I did balance, which is optimizing both quality and performance. So those are basically your three settings: your performance, balance, and quality. Switching it to balance, I would jump up to 60 frames a second using DLSS with all of the ray tracing stuff set to low. And if I turned off DLSS and ray tracing, I would hit, I want to say like 120 frames a second with just everything else to max. So ray tracing is definitely a major performance hit, but it was still like, admittedly wasn't doing gameplay, so I can't say that that's what I would have been if I was in like a firefight, that I'd be getting 30 frames a second. But it was definitely, with what I was doing, it was playable at 30 frames a second, and DLSS just made it that much smoother. And I've spent a lot of my life playing around with video. I know exactly how everyone's knock on DLSS is. It's actually like 1080p, but scaled up. So quality. I have stared at video for over a decade. Probably can start saying soon. It should start saying 2 decades. In some way, shape, or form, where I was looking at it in terms of like the quality of the image, and I could not tell you that there was a major difference between DLSS on and DLSS off in Fortnite. Like legit. Like I then threw it on quality with DLSS, and that meant I was hitting 144 frames a second in Fortnite with admittedly this is with ray tracing off. If I turn on DLSS with just normal rasterization, I was hitting 144 frames a second. Solid. And it never dipped.
Right.
This system is bananas.
Like we were talking about earlier, I'm so curious what Cyberpunk's going to do to that thing, or like what you could do to Cyberpunk.
Yeah, okay, so we're talking about this right before broadcast. I have the chart up still. I'll make sure to link to it in the show notes when I post show notes. By the way, I'm making progress. Eventually stuff will be live again. My system, so I have, and I honestly don't know how many people, like I legit wonder how many people have a system like mine where I have a RTX 3070 and a Ryzen 5 5600X. Like those are two products that have, in some cases, only been out under a month with like the processor. According to their own system requirements, I should be able to hit 1440p with RT settings to ultra. Yeah. Like if you pull up their chart, Chris, in their Twitter, if you go over to RT high, that is what my system should be able to hit easily, according to them.
Right.
I seriously do wonder what this thing's going to look like. I will take video.
Yeah, like I'm assuming, because it's gonna look better on your PC than it will anywhere else. Like,
Yeah, the only way
in
you're going to get
theory,
something
you'll
better is
be able.
if you have a 3080 and a new Ryzen processor.
Yeah,
you can beat
like
mine, but who knows who has that?
you're you're gonna be well because you have some of the rarest components in the world right
Hmm.
now.
Hmm.
So
I
like
was
you're
actually,
gonna
as a kind of side note, like I was talking to, our friend Jeff, because we were talking about Civilization 6, and I was having a bug where Civ 6 was crashing on me. And I just even told him, I'm like, I don't know if it's because I migrated my stuff over from the old computer and something got corrupted in the transfer, or if it's because I have this new system. I'm like, I wouldn't be shocked if if there's under 100 systems like this playing Civ 6. I also wouldn't be shocked if there's less than 100 systems like this total.
right. So like
Um,
that's the kind of thing too. Of, like you're in such a rare position here. I'm fascinated as to what's gonna happen with your system. And the thing that kind of sucks. Well, CD Projekt Red should be pretty good about it, but like the thing that kind of sucks is like if you have any kind of technical issues at all, you have no one to turn to.
yeah. I am the guy who's gonna have to sit there and figure it out and then share it on Reddit.
Yeah, dude, think of
Um,
the karma. Think of the karma.
all the karma. But yeah, no, I will definitely, once Cyberpunk hits, I will take. I hope I would have to have like a benchmark or something. That would be kind of cool. I'll definitely take video to share with you. I did take video of the Fortnite stuff that I'll send your way, and I'll probably try to find some way to
Yeah,
share it at some point.
I'm just curious because I haven't played Fortnite on the new consoles yet, but I mean, yeah, I've seen it and it looks really cool. I'm
Yeah,
curious how it looks on your system with
I
like
think
everything max.
the thing that got me, especially with ray tracing with Fortnite, is the closest like approximate I could think of was actually bizarrely my mind, because of course it's Star Wars, my mind went to Mandalorian, where I'm like, this is the difference between like green screen and the volume. In the sense that what you could do traditionally in with the game engine in terms of lighting looks really good these days. Like amazing. Like damn near photorealistic. Ray tracing is that little bit of like the difference of where, but you could still kind of tell, like your brain can tell that it's not real when
Right,
you look at it, but it's so close that you can look past it. Same with like really good green screen work. You
right.
can tell it's green screen work, but you can look past it. I honestly was kind of shocked with like how like photorealistic some of the lighting stuff looked. Like just that much a little bit better. And it's just not something you would expect, but that's I think where we are with a lot of this tech is we're at the point now where any changes we're going to make are to make it that much more realistic. We're getting that much closer to being able to approximate how things will actually function in reality because our systems are powerful enough to actually do that in real time. And it's just so Fortnite, even without ray tracing, still looks really good at max settings. But ray tracing just it has that little bit of extra where you're just like when you're looking at the lighting effects and you're like, yeah, no, this looks more real. I'll have to send you that video once I actually work through it.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
that was I am really happy with this system. Still can't
Dude,
say that I put it through its paces, but then again, I'm not sure at this point what will put it through its paces.
no, that's why I'm curious. Like, that's why I kept asking. Like, did you try to push it? Because the
I'm
thing is,
actually going to be
I don't even
downloading.
know.
I'm planning to download, because Game Pass. I just haven't done it yet. Microsoft Flight Simulator, because I think that's the one thing that's going to actually push my system.
There's
Ah,
so few things.
yeah. Like I said, I think a lot of the frame rate stuff I was seeing in GTA was more a limitation of the engine rather than a limitation of my card. Because
Yeah,
when it was running smoothly at the highest frame rates, where I was seeing like 108, 100, whatever, it's not that I don't think my system could have gone faster so much as there's only as fast as that game engine can go.
right.
None of my CPU cores were at like 99%. My GPU wasn't at 99% some of the times. It was close.
Have you tried rendering anything yet?
I haven't. I still need to download Cinebench and do something with that, just to kind of test it that way. If it wasn't for the fact that I really don't like all the bloatware that gets installed by Adobe, I'd be very tempted to throw Adobe on there and let James use it to render something. Because I know he's been doing some projects he's running one of the 2013 Mac Pros, and that system will be with some of those projects. It's taken, days to render some projects? James nods.
James does nod. Or I just have to have After Effects open 3 different times on the same computer because it's like a lot of the workload is single threaded, which is not like a Xeon is not designed for that.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see what that thing can do. It's a powerful GPU, it's a powerful CPU. And yeah, I'll keep everyone appraised on it just because, again, I don't know what's going to put. I think Microsoft Flight Simulator on Mac settings is going to push this system, but I can't think of anything else that would. But I think talking about how powerful this CPU is, let's shift to the next CPU topic, because this is also freaking crazy. Apple's new M1 chip is bonkers. For some perspective for people on why this is insane, I did Geekbench scores on my new system after I had it up and running. The Apple M1 beats my Ryzen 5 5600X in single core by, I want to say, like 200 points. But the Ryzen beats it by, I want to say, like a couple hundred on multi-core. The thing I know that Geekbench isn't the most authoritative score metric out there, but the big thing is that means this chip in a MacBook Air is going blow for blow with the new Ryzen 5 entry-level Ryzen chip. My Ryzen is a 65-watt chip, and the Apple M1 is 20 watts?
Yeah.
That's what is insane about this, and that's why everyone's kind of freaking out. If you are a layperson, that's why everyone's excited.
It's the efficiency and the size.
Yeah. That chip should not be that good. Especially considering the MacBook Air has no active cooling. It's just there.
Yeah, there's no fans.
There's no fans in the MacBook Air. The Verge's review unit, they said they had to run Cinebench on a loop for 10 minutes before the fan even turned on in the MacBook Pro.
It's insane.
This is bonkers. Because this is Apple's first Mac chip. It is super, super limited in its wattage. Who knows what this thing could do if Apple decided to throw 60 watts at it. This thing could
the scale up is insane.
That is why everyone's kind of just staring at it and seeing all the metrics and hearing about how Rosetta is still, the M1 is still so fast that translating software from an Intel build to a Apple Silicon build, which slows down the performance of the software. It's still faster on the Apple CPU than it would be on an Intel one. That just should not be a thing. This thing is insane.
Yeah.
And I know we've already talked about it a lot, about how this could be exactly what would happen. And it's still you ain't seen nothing yet. Again, because this is their laptop CPU and their Mac Mini CPU. Yeah. It's super low power. It's super efficient. Who knows whatever they put in the iMac who knows what that thing's going to do? Because a lot of those concerns go away.
Yeah. Again, the thing is that's insane is A, it's their first shot, and B, it's their like lower model.
Yeah. Like,
It's their safe model.
it's their safe model. And I think the big takeaway was The Verge is Dieter Bohn made a comment. He's like, for a while, up until like the butterfly keyboard, the MacBook Air was the laptop everything was judged against. He's like, that's it. It's that again. Every other laptop in like the Ultrabook category is going to be compared to the MacBook Air. And I don't see how any of them are going to be competitive on a power level.
Yeah. I mean, they really can't.
Because what's so crazy is because it's so efficient and its wattage is so low, like people are talking about how it's getting like 10 hours of battery life, and that's with them like working on it.
Yeah.
Like they had to try to kill the battery during tests. It's bonkers. Yeah, I know I kind of want to get my hands on one just to see what it's like. I know, James, you've been talking about like possibly getting a replacement with this for work. Like, what are your thoughts as someone who actually spends a lot of time in CPU limited work?
Yeah, I mean, my only concern right now is that there's very little RAM available, and it's not expandable, and I'm a little concerned that that's just going to be Apple moving forward. Like, I like being able to tinker with computers a little bit, and I'm a little concerned that they're just going to be like an iPhone, where we're taking it apart is like literal surgery. Like you're cutting glue, you have to like reassemble it. Will it be alive again? You know. But yeah, for like just like a performance perspective, I'd be curious to see just like the MacBook Air compared to the computer that I've been using professionally is so much better that, you know, even the lowest end thing that they make now is still probably really capable, which is interesting.
Yeah, I know. For my company, my bosses, they were needing to do a hardware update, and I basically was like, let's hold off and see what this Apple Silicon stuff is like, because I, of course, pay attention to this, and they are, you know, this tech isn't necessarily their thing. And I even said at one point prior, it's like, I want us to wait because there's two reasons for this. I'm like, one, if it sucks, we can always get the last generation model for less. And two, if it's good, you know, it might be worth doing, with the caveat that sometimes when there's a transition like this, there's like going to be like, it might take a little bit before it's stable. There might be some like little things that kind of interrupt the flow. And everything I'm seeing right now, at least, indicates that there's no like issues at all. Like it's like a seamless.
Right.
And I think that's the other thing to like also take away from this whole transition too, is not only is this chip super powerful, it doesn't seem like, from the consumer perspective, this is going to be a seamless transition to where, unless you are like us, where you're interested in computers, where we've had conversations about like CPUs and how they function and like getting excited about that sort of thing. If you aren't us, this is a seamless transition that I don't think anyone needs to be concerned about. Like, I think honestly, this is like the one time where being a first adopter is not necessarily going to be a problem. Because we would have heard about it by now. And instead, everyone is consistently blown away by the overall quality. Like, the only thing they complain about is iPhone apps kind of suck.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like, the iPhone apps aren't that great. It's like, cool. That's kind of what I expected. It's impressive all around. But holy crap.
To be fair, like I think Apple's reliability problems typically are a little bit they show up a little later. Like usually it's like 2-3 years after its release. It's like, oh, it breaks a lot. I wouldn't expect that just because those problems have usually been either battery or GPU related.
Yeah.
And the iPhones.
Hence the bad blood between Apple and Nvidia.
Yeah, and like I can't think of any iPhones that have had like hardware problems. They're usually pretty reliable, right?
Yeah.
It's just battery.
Yeah, it's just like it's a battery issue that is like universal, and it's not like a quality problem or a build problem. It's just that batteries age, and those sometimes like there can be side effects from that. Like, battery could start to expand, and it's just like that's not anything wrong with Apple's build. It's just batteries, how they function. But yeah, it's bonkers.
On that note, I did think about this the other day about like, kind of side note. I did think about like what the batteries look like in like 5 years. We haven't had an innovation on battery technology in a long time.
Yeah, it was going from nickel to lithium. When was that switch? I don't even. Do you know, James?
From lithium on.
Yeah, I know that in like video cameras that I've owned. Like it was NiCad was what we had in 2000, but by 2004, I think the batteries had a lithium option at least. Man, I don't miss
we
those
haven't
days
had
at all.
we haven't had like a battery switch in terms of like battery technology from lithium ion like in like a decade, like over a decade.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
Like-
isn't Tesla kind of working on new battery tech where it's like instead of it being like liquid, like the ion being a liquid in the battery, it's like the batteries are more like solid state and perhaps more reliable.
I think the two companies that are investing the most in battery tech are Tesla and Apple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what that would be.
For like completely different reasons. Like
Yeah.
Apple's like, we want the thinnest battery. And Tesla's like,
and Tesla's like, we want the biggest battery that can
Yeah.
hold the biggest charge so you can actually go for more than 20 miles.
Teslas are pretty
Yeah.
like
The Teslas can do what?
Tesla's like, we want you to go like coast to
300.
coast without even touching the steering wheel and without charging.
Yeah. And the thing
For
that's
all the
funny
times
is
you have to
like
do that.
the thing that's kind of interesting is like they're going two separate paths, but at a certain point they're going to converge.
Yeah. It wouldn't shock me at all if at some point they just kind of were like, you know what, let's just team up. Because they
Well, that's how
both
all
could
things-
benefit from it. Yeah.
That's how all things work eventually. All things work where these companies like go on these branching paths to find this answer, and then eventually they just converge onto a singular idea that's better.
Yeah. But yeah, I know we are due for better. Like that's the thing that holding back electric cars the most is battery tech, which is why Tesla's heavily invested in it. And Apple,
Yeah.
of course, would love Apple's dream is the thinnest device possible with all day battery life.
They just want a screen.
Yeah, that's really what it is. They just want to get it down to a screen. Let's move on.
Could you imagine
Oh.
just a piece of glass that's a phone?
My God. That'd be crazy.
I feel like that shows up in a lot of TV shows tech, and I'm
But
like,
I hate
I-
the idea of it like a transparent phone.
right? Because then like everyone can see what's on your screen just reversed, and like, why
Yeah.
would anyone want that? Like, why?
Because you're Tony Stark and you're cool.
No,
Who
it's the
cares?
worst.
Tony Stark wants people to read his emails because he was like, "Look at all this exclusive stuff I have."
Oh, look at this shiny.
I mean, there
Yeah,
are.
you want to
those
see
people,
my new
yes.
Iron Man suit?
What?
No, it's just like he's like looking at like pictures of the next Iron Man suit on his phone, and you could just like see it from the back. It's just like, yeah, Tony Stark. That
Tony
would
Stark would
honestly
have a-
wouldn't shock me at all if if that would be a thing that he would have done just to like get attention. Like,
Tony Stark would have an OnlyFans account where he just shows up Iron Man suits.
Oh my god, it's behind the scenes of me making my armor. And it's just that
That's what it
video,
is.
like there's one video clip and it's the one where he's like accidentally like flips over and crashes into stuff from Iron Man 1. That's like the only video on it.
So good.
All right. Queen's Gambit. You
Yes.
told James and I to sit down and watch it. I remember telling you the reason why I had realized that it was this whole separate thing, even though I had seen it on Netflix, is I had been reading E.K. Johnson's Star Wars books about Padme, and those are all titled Queen's this. So it was like Queen's Peril, Queen's Shadow, and I'm like, Queen's Gambit, that sounds... I'm like, is this some Star Wars book I'm not aware of? Because I follow a lot of Star Wars Twitter. So, yeah.
So yeah, like obviously I've been obsessed with it for a couple weeks now. And I told you guys 2 weeks ago, like you gotta get on it. And yeah, like it's a special thing. I like fun facts too if you guys want those later, but can like just give me your thoughts. I've talked enough about Queen's Gambit.
I think it is absolutely fantastic. Especially like the final 2 episodes. And this is something that I think streaming has made possible, in the sense that it used to be either you had a movie that was contained within 2 hours, or you had a TV show that's supposed to go on for like an infinite number of seasons, like run until like the network is like, oh, we're not making enough money anymore, it's too expensive. This type of thing where it's because I get the sense that this is just, at least I'm hoping, this is kind of just like a one-off.
Well, this is the end of the book. So the,
Yeah,
so
'cause
it, yeah, so the ending of the show is the end of the book. So
Yeah.
if they wanted to do a sequel series, which I highly doubt,
There's nowhere
they
to go.
would have. There's nowhere to go. They'd have
Yeah.
to make up their own story.
Exactly. And I'm glad, I hope they don't, because I think that this is what streaming is really nailed, is that they can do let's run it, like do a TV series that has like that's supposed to run until it's like runs out. Like there's no limit on it, like traditional broadcast. But streaming seems to be way more willing to invest some money into a show that obviously costs a lot of money and is only a one-off.
Well, so like one of the fun facts, like they've been trying to make this movie or this show for decades now. And the last attempt at trying to make it was supposed to be directed by Heath Ledger, and it was produced and directed by Heath Ledger and starring Ellen Page. And then it got shelved because Heath Ledger died.
Oh, wow.
And that was the last kind of attempt at trying to make this book into like a live action movie. And then so Netflix bought the rights. Like it was on a shelf somewhere, and Netflix bought the rights and were like, we can make this a show.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I think the lesson we've learned, or at least I feel like the industry has learned, is the idea that oftentimes like books, there are some books that are easier to adapt into film, and then there are books that are better adapted as, a limited series. And this is
Like,
one where
Like
I
series of
don't,
unfortunate events.
yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible movie.
Like it's a wonderful show.
Yeah.
But like Queen's Gambit, I don't know how you make this a 2-hour movie.
I wouldn't want to see this 2-hour movie, honestly.
No. There's so much that needs to happen.
God, it's...
And like you could cut out a lot of characters and you can cut out a lot of stuff that's important and just make it a very streamlined movie. But like even then, even the stuff that's just critically important, there's so much of it.
Well, the thing too is like when you're adapting like a story like this, it's like it's great to let the audience be able to sit in the world a little bit longer. It's one of the reasons I think Mandalorian really shines, and a lot of this Star Wars like animated stuff has really like shined, is the fact that they don't have to go fast through a story.
Yeah.
They can build up over time. And it's also one of the reasons why, like, I haven't watched the new season, anything from the new season yet, but like His Dark Materials is another example of something where it's just like, that is like, the movie wasn't great. The series is arguably like it's one of those cases where it's going to work better as a series because you can actually fully establish everything happening without having to cut out or alter the story to have it fit runtime. And
Right.
I love that they did that. And I honestly think like this was, like, you made the comment about the best scene of 2020. Was that before the show or during the show? I don't
I think
remember.
I said during. No, wait. I think I did say it during the show because we're talking
Yeah.
about Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, right. You're right.
Yeah.
And you're right. I think this is like the best scene I've seen from 2020 so far.
And like, I honestly think that might be true, even if this was a normal year. Like, it's so
Yeah,
good.
that was my thought while watching this too, is I'm like, yeah, 2020 is odd, but because there hasn't been much to compare it to, if this doesn't walk away with a ton of Emmy nominations, someone somewhere messed up.
Well, yeah, like Anya Taylor-Joy is gonna win everything for this.
Yes. Agreed.
But yeah, like there's some wonderful acting in this show.
Agreed. Like, it's like consistently solid from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Like, I would not like, James, would you consider there any like real weak points?
Not really. I mean, I wouldn't want the pacing to be any slower. Like,
Agreed.
It was about. I was like, you could probably cut an hour out of the series without really missing that much. I feel like there was quite a lot of lingering, which is not like a bad thing. Again, it's sort of like you said, that it lets you see a little bit more of what each person is doing. Like, there's no reason to be
I
short,
agree.
but
The pacing couldn't go, like, you couldn't slow it down any longer without being just like overbearing.
and I think just like the nature of what chess is like, I did enjoy that it was always kind of an exciting. Like, every time you watched them play chess, it was
exciting.
like,
In
as
fact,
someone who's like, I have no interest and I don't know any of the rules, it's like, it is not the game for me, but like, it was still interesting to watch them play because you sort of could, like, the emotion was clear, even if like the moves that they were making were not like, you're not like, oh, she just did the Kingsman switch or like whatever.
yeah,
like-
like as someone who doesn't play chess, like, I never felt like I was missing anything.
Agreed. Yeah, because that wasn't really that's not what the show is about
Yeah.
necessarily.
Right.
Like, her
But-
skills are almost never in question. Like, after maybe episode 1, it's just like, I'm not really worried about her being good at her job. There's other things that I'm concerned about.
Yeah. And
Which
it's those
is probably
other
why
things that
they're-
are
yeah.
the reasons she loses when she loses.
I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, those other things just gave drama to a story that might really not be that dramatic if there hadn't been the, subplots with family and other things.
Yeah. One thing I did think too, while watching this, anyone who watches this series loves it, but if they ever turn around and go, like, I don't get why esports is a big thing. It's just like, that was like the closest thing I could approximate to with chess and this, just seeing how like big it was in Russia. It's like, no, this is kind of exactly the same thing where you don't necessarily have to make competition a matter of like physical feat. It can be in technical ability and technical knowledge and just talent outside of, world's fastest man.
And like, I really enjoyed how in most of the matches that she plays, like, her success is not necessarily like it is someone else's failure, but the way that losing was portrayed in the show was gracious and like again I'm not
Right.
really, I know there's
Except for the
more
one guy that gets mad at the end. But
well,
like
yeah,
otherwise,
like there's definitely that, but I just feel like there was like lots of nice moments where like because it's such an analytical game, it's almost and like the people playing it are so kind of like in that world, like their brain works in a really specific way that like emotion is part of it, but like just like the strategy and like the skill is kind of like all that matters, and like losing to someone who's good is like still a good experience for the loser.
right.
Yeah, like the
Like, and
people who
that's
got upset were the outlier. And like you
Yeah.
notice them and you're like, what the hell's wrong with you?
yeah, and I think like that's kind of the cool thing where that's something I noticed with chess players in general. Like having played a lot of chess and having known a lot of chess players, the thing is like chess players are the first people to admit like, damn, they got me, right? And
Yeah,
it's
because
like
there's
the
like
first.
it's not it's like it's just all strategy. There's sort of no like you can just like be outwitted.
Like no one knows the mistake faster than the chess player that made it,
Yep.
right? And like they understand like when someone catches them, it's not like a oh shit, it's a or you know it is all shit, but it's like a negative thing. It's like a damn, I messed that up. Like it's never a thing of like oh they got lucky or what like they earned it. Like they earned it or I made a mistake or like I didn't deserve to win this one. And so it's never a negative thing in the case of like oh I feel like I got cheated. To them it's always a learning experience. It's always a way to get better, right?
Yeah, the one thing that I sort of wanted to see in the show that almost showed up but not quite was like I kind of wanted her to play against like a savant chess player that like there was like glimpses where she kind of like would go to the park and see like the park guys playing, and I was like there's got to be like that person who's just like their brain is like they can't function in society, like they can barely deal with anything, but like chess is like the one thing that their brain can do,
Right.
which I've heard is like something that's like fairly common, is that like you can be like strongly mentally ill, but like you're so much better, like you could beat anybody at chess, but like you can't compete because you can't deal with life, you know? And I was like, that'd be interesting for her to play against someone like that. I don't know if she'd win or if she'd just be like, if she'd just lose immediately, because like this person she's playing against does not really follow any, like they don't buy the chess magazine. They just like, their brain only does chess.
Right.
Well, that's how she started, though, if you think about it.
I suppose, but, and like she's a little broken herself, so
Yeah,
maybe.
I think she would still have the upper hand.
But I'd just be
Yeah, 'cause
interested to like
Well,
have her
'cause the thing
compete
is
against,
like
a,
the thing with chess, not so much. The thing that's different about chess and like Logan was saying, like with esports, is like chess is very much a closed system. So it's why computers are very good at chess. It's why you could teach a bot how to play chess. It's why like I play on chess.com, and so every time I play on chess.com, every game that I play is saved and then analyzed, and it gives you a report back of like here's the mistakes you made, here's like the blunders you made, here's like good moves, bad moves, that like rates your and like like it gives you a full readout immediately of like your chess match. And it's because it's a closed
Yeah.
system and because it's like it's identifiable, so we understand how chess functions.
and
So,
like
just the more
if you're able to keep track of every possible path forward and everything that's happened in the past, like
Right.
a computer can, you could very easily just like create an algorithm that is
to play chess,
will
right?
make
And
you
like
win,
that's
yeah.
why you see like players like Magnus or like Gary Kasparov or like Hikaru Nakamura, like real life chess players that can recall thousands and thousands of chess matches on a like every single move of a chess match on a dime. Like you can be like, what was the 27th move in 1988 or whatever, and like in the World Championships with blah 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 blah, and then like Magnus can tell you the move, and it's like, oh, they just know. Like it's just in their heads. Like the thing that I was trying. I forget how. I think I was trying to tell Jenny of the idea of like playing chess in your head. and like her visualizing the chessboard, that's not actually that unique of a skill. I think from what I've seen, most top level chess players can do that. That's why you see like Magnus playing against 10 people without looking at the boards. Like he just sees it in his head, or he can keep track of the pieces in his head. Like
Like
when
they played that entire match of chess on the car trip to New York.
yeah, in the car.
Yeah.
Like that's not anything new or different. I think that the thing was the show uses it as a metaphor for her reliance on the tranquilizers, right?
Yeah.
And like I don't think like James was talking about, like when you talk about savant stuff, I think that they all have that innate ability to be like kind of like the Rain Man kind of style chess. I think most top level, when you get to that level, I think that most players are at that level. I think it's a matter of at that point the studiousness and like the knowledge base that they have that sets them apart. Because dude, there's some like the knowledge level you need to have to play chess at that level is insane.
Yeah, and like I can't even imagine being a like Soviet player where kind of like you have to win. Like that is because that's your specific job. Like I just can't imagine the pressure of that. Like on top of just like the desire to win and the desire to be the best person, which is kind of what you know, like Beth has. It's like she doesn't really have to win except for like personal reasons. Like
Right.
Yeah, she's not fighting the atheism and communism.
yeah.
It's one of my favorite scenes, by the way.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love
exactly.
that scene.
Like we all want to say that.
Just like, thank you for being like, no.
I'm not saying any of this. There was one thing that I don't know if you guys noticed. It kind of showed up several times and bugged me. Was that like you'd watch like them playing chess at a fairly quick pace. Like almost every one of her games, it was like boom, boom, boom. Like they're just like switching back and forth with maybe 5 seconds.
And the fact
between
she
them.
doesn't write it down?
No, she usually wrote it down, but like there'd be all those shots where it would like pan up to like the big thing on the wall, and like they're changing the like pieces so slowly, and maybe that's how it just works. But it was just like you'd see someone with binoculars like looking at the game, and then like move the big thing on the board, and like no, they just did like 10 things in the amount of time.
And
that
like when he sends the kid out to call out the
Yeah.
move, and it's just like
I was like, what? They have the radio.
between you telling
Exactly.
him that move and him running out. Just like,
They need at that point they need like 6 kids.
Right?
Like,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
one runs out. All right, what's the next move, kid?
And again, like later on, we just see people listening to the radio, which is not. I guess radios were not the. I can't remember. Was that like something that was hard to get in the USSR? Like I thought it wasn't like you could just buy a radio. You had to like buy the radio, right?
Or the car.
Yeah, exactly. They only made the one, so I wasn't sure if they were super common for like everyone to have one in the way that it was probably more like that in the US in the 30s. I don't know.
yeah.
But it just seems that some of those bits were like, I don't know why this beat is in here because it doesn't really make sense.
Oh, well, I did like the fact that she was like a mini celebrity in Russia.
Yeah. That was fun. And like they again, I don't know how accurate this is. It seems like it was nice that they were like appreciating her talent more than just being like, boo, you're beating our side. Which I don't
She
really know
Rocky Ford them.
maybe.
Like that was kind of the cool thing of when the crowd gets bigger. So like it starts when she first wins her first couple matches, it's like mainly Russian women.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I
then-
feel like
and
most
then
of the
as
time it was like
and then
high
as
concentrations of
she-
women.
But like as she starts to win and like win bigger and bigger matches, I think after she beats Levinchenko, she like it's a good mix of like men and women, and they're just like appreciative of the skill level.
Right. Just like, no, it was. I really appreciated that because I think that also you realize is like how in everything taking place stateside, it was very insular.
Right.
Like she's
Like-
like
Like, that's how-
barely ever
that's how-
recognized.
That's how it is in esports here, right? Like
Mhm.
I'll get recognized if I am in Santa Monica where like Riot Games is and like where the LCS is, and like if it's an LCS day and I'm walking around at like a League of Legends thing or a gaming thing, I'll get recognized, or like whatever it is. But like it's very few and far between. Where like when I was really into it and I was in Korea, like you would get recognized all the time, and it's just different, right? It's just different different values of people, of like what countries value,
Yeah.
or like what they see as success and what they see as skill.
Yeah, the America still in some ways views video games as the nerd in the basement and doesn't want anything that stands counter to that.
Right. I mean, like it's changing, it's shifting as as the older generation phases out and our generation phases in. Like we're starting to see the shift, right?
Yes, exactly.
So
But-
it's a matter of time. But like, yeah, just watching Queen's Gambit was so good, and like there's a couple of great articles on it, and a couple of great videos on it. But like the costume design, like her outfit at the end being the White Queen outfit. I don't know if you guys picked up on this stuff.
I didn't pick up on that bit, but the moment you said it, like, oh, that.
It's like, oh, of
actually
course,
is-
yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so she's supposed to look like a White Queen at the end, with like the her big coat
That
and
little
the
like
hat.
puffy hat, yeah.
Yeah. So then like there's times where I think when she loses to Borgoff the second time, she's wearing a dress that has the same colors of the tranquilizers. It's the one that she loses because she's all jacked up. So
Yeah.
Like
she
the
loses.
first scene of the show kind of was like introing that one.
Yeah.
Yes.
But like when she loses to Borgoff, she's wearing the dress that she's wearing is the same color as the tranquilizers,
Yeah.
and so like
the
stuff
like vague tranquilizers that like always look the same.
yeah,
I mean,
know,
it's helpful story wise because you're like,
Yeah.
oh, they're like green and pretty and huge, so you can see them on screen.
they're like shades
Hard
of
to
green.
miss.
Cool.
No, fantastic recommendation. I actually am gonna definitely watch it again. It's like the moment after I finished the last episode, I was just like, I see why Chris has said he's had this on repeat, because I just wanted to go back and watch it again.
It's so good, and the thing, because my dad. Okay, so my dad loves happy stories, and he loves like uplifting, happy things, right?
Mhm.
So like 3 episodes into it, my dad turns to me and he goes, do things get better? Like does things does her life get better?" And I was like, "Don't worry about it. Like she'll be fine, whatever." And my dad loved it. And the thing is, like,
You
the
had to.
ending-
It earned that
ending-
ending.
Yeah.
the ending is so good, and the ending's so cathartic because you went through the rest of it with her.
Exactly. Like,
We're like-
honestly, that ending, I was watching it even and thinking, I'm like, man, this is way more like uplifting. Like it feels like the stereotypical saccharine thing, but it doesn't, because you've been on this journey with her so long. You actually do realize that this is for her. There's a level of accomplishment beyond just the chess.
Yeah, and like the moments, and like we're gonna get full spoilers. Like the
Oh yeah, we have the spoiler
spoilers for anyone that
right?
hasn't watched it, go watch it. But like the ending where like so there's like when she goes to the basement and sees that Scheibel has all the clippings,
Yeah.
like a proud dad, right?
I
Like a proud
totally did not feel an emotional stirring in my chest and didn't tear up at all. No, no,
right like that.
I
like that gets
seriously
me.
did not. I don't know how I just didn't lose it in that moment, because I honestly
like-
was just like, oh my god. Like, and she's just sitting there going, I still owe him $10.
I know.
And
I
it's
was like, I was just feeling that guilt of like, oh, that, like she said I would send you the money, and then I didn't send him the money, and now you're dead, and
yeah,
Well, like it's a thing of like that's probably the closest thing to like a proud parent that she's ever had, because like
Yeah.
even
Or at least a
her
father.
even her mom, the adopted mom, wasn't really into the chess. Like she didn't care about the chess, and she didn't really understand the world that her daughter was jumping into. She was just more trying to be a mom
Yeah, like
and
she
trying
was
to be
like very
as supportive as
supportive
possible.
of whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And like
And so
with with the the struggles that mom was going through just like in her life, I think it's like even though her ending wasn't great, it was sort of like you can tell that she's trying really hard.
right.
Yeah. Like when we
So
first are introduced to the mom, I like did not like her, and by the
Yeah.
end, I was just like, I still don't really feel like you're the best person for Beth, but I appreciate you appreciate the fact that she's actually on some level, at least
Trying.
she's trying to be a mom. She's just a bad mom.
Yeah, like I think at that point it's just you're just happy that Beth has some kind of positive influence in her life.
Yeah,
Right? You're just happy that you have someone's in her corner.
Yeah. And
exactly.
even
think-
like the mom, I feel like at the end of episode 2, I was just like, "Oh, they're like good for each other." Because it was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you're finally seeing
They're
the mom
mutual
kind of
disasters.
like get out of her funk a little bit and be like, "Oh, let's go like traveling and do these kind of competitions. We could like
Yeah.
we could like
Like
make it on our own,
pull
two single ladies."
They push each other forward in
Yeah.
in the way that they both need.
Mhm.
Right? But yeah, like I don't know if it's necessarily healthy for either one of them, but like
No,
it's
yeah,
it's a
that's
push
my
forward
thing,
that
where,
they
like,
both need, right?
they both needed each other, but at the same time, they kind of enabled the worst of each other. And I don't think either of them realized it. Like, so
No.
it's not like something you could sit there, like, where I say, like, she was a bad mother. I don't think she would have realized that or known that she was, like, not helping. Because she also needed some level of help that Beth was not able to give either. It was
Well, yeah.
a mutually necessary, but also in some ways mutually destructive relationship.
Right. So like when you think about it, like Mr. Shivel is kind of the only purely positive relationship she's ever had in her life.
Yeah, and even then, it's kind of a cold one.
Yeah, like they kind of
Right.
end on like
Terms.
frosty terms. Yeah. So
But he
But, like-
clearly, even though he never showed it physically, he clearly did care about her.
Right. And like even that end scene where he is really cold to her and doesn't talk back to her, I'd assume that's because the school was like, stop talking to this girl.
yeah.
But he clipped all of the newspaper. Like, he clearly, like, obviously must have subscribed to, like, Chess Review just so he could get articles about her.
Right. And the thing is like again, it's like a proud parent keeping the clippings and like putting them up on the fridge, right? Like it's the
Yeah.
same kind of feeling. And like Beth's never had that level of support from anyone.
Yeah.
Like even
And
the mom
so-
was like, "Oh, I should start a scrapbook." I imagine she
Yeah.
didn't, but like she was like, "Oh, there's so many like clippings. Someone should keep
Yeah.
track of all these things." And then like someone did. Which
Yeah.
is sweet.
And so like it's such a interesting thing of like Beth probably had opportunities to go back and like have this relationship, but she just never did. And so like that regret sets in, right? And like the seeing that kind of thing transpire is so like emotionally heavy. I think like all the scenes with Jolene are great too. That Jolene
yeah.
comes back and like the scene where they're playing squash and they have that conversation that hits me pretty hard too. But like all the stuff with Towns coming back and then like this like her answering the phone and it being Harry and Benny. like,
yeah.
all
Together
that
in the
stuff
same
is-
apartment with all of the other people that she's interacted with from the tournament scenes and like the other. It's just like I said, it's like this. It is the stereotypical saccharine, like Hollywood moment.
But they earn it.
But they've earned it. Like, you don't care because you're just so happy
Yeah,
it's happening.
well. When I first saw it, I was like, "How did Benny fly them all here?" And like,
And then you realize it's because they cared enough about her that they all were there. Like,
Yeah.
it's like that is why it happened. It wasn't like clearly at some point, because chess is a small community, clearly like it's never indicated, but this means that at like Harry and Benny and Towns and all of them must have been in contact with one another, at least in some way, or at least have some sort of relationship where they were able to communicate. Because there's no way in hell that was not coordinated.
right.
From the arrival in Moscow to everyone being in New York, that was like planned. They
Right.
played they played lifelike chess.
They did. But yeah, also so I didn't need more of an explanation, but like they kind of like gloss over the
Oh
idea
yeah, they
that
totally
Towns
did.
is gay. Like I don't like when does Beth find out Towns is gay?
It was confusing because of
Because
like
they
the
because
scene
they just
surrounding
kind
it was like, oh, I feel like I'm getting the other message.
Yeah.
yeah, but like it was a thing of okay, she gets mad and then they don't have any kind of interaction together, and then when they meet in Moscow, she already knows that he's gay.
Yeah,
But like when does
I
she figure that out?
missed some of that stuff, honestly, on my watch through.
Oh, you didn't get that
I
at
mean, no,
all?
I caught it with the thing in Vegas. I'm like, oh, he's with that guy.
Yeah.
But like I didn't clearly get that she understood it. Like I
No,
missed
that's
that bit.
but so like that was my thing of so she gets the last time we see her interaction with Towns is the thing where she leaves Vegas very, very upset,
Hmm.
right? And she doesn't want to talk to him. She doesn't want to be friends with him because she wants like a relationship that he clearly doesn't want, right?
Yeah.
And then like when they're in Moscow, she has an understanding that he's gay, and you go, wait, where did she get that?
I wonder if it's because she
Like
slept
if she
with
hasn't,
the model in Paris. Just like
Oh, like
you know what? That could be it. Just like the realization of like, oh, hey, that could be, everything. I wonder if that's what it was. Like, thinking it back, I have a feeling that may have been it. Like that,
maybe
you
that's
don't,
it, but like.
you don't have to be male and female. You could do combinations.
But like it's like
Life
it's a
is
little
like
bit of a
chess.
leap that like you're like, oh, okay, she gets it, but then why did she just call him back and apologize then? Like what?
Yeah. Who knows?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it was, the show was very clear about like it is this year, but like I could never remember how much time had passed. Like how long was it? Like what year did she get adopted? Was that like 63, and then she played the match in Russia in like
So she gets
66?
so she gets adopted at like what,
15, and
15,
she's
and then she wins
What?
the title at 22.
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, like I thought I don't really know if it's more performance or if it's probably more of a combination performance, makeup, and wardrobe, but just like the same actors playing, just like her and Jolene at the school versus like her and Jolene at the end of the show. I was like, these feel like different
Older.
people.
It's
Like,
the case
yeah,
where,
but you're the same like you're physically the same
Yeah.
person, and I know that like filming this show, like the time difference is like maybe weeks at the most.
yeah, I think one of the biggest criticisms to go to something that's not Queen's Gambit, but also has like a mass amount of time that passes. Theory of Everything did like a horrible job with the aging, to where
Yeah.
you would have been like, oh, this is like a matter of years, maybe. And it was like, no, it was decades. And this show like felt like the exact opposite, where they really did
Yeah,
a
like-
good job.
Her at like 20 feels like her at like 40. Like she's just like, I've been through it all.
Yeah, like they nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like the
good.
scene that I go back to is like there's the scene of them at the orphanage where they're sitting at the windowsill and they're kind of like palling around in the morning.
Yeah.
There's that scene, and then you put that right next to them at the squash court where they're sitting there talking, and then they have the moment where Jolene tries to like play fight Beth, and they have the same kind of giggle moment. And like if you watch both of those scenes, because I've gone back and I've looked at both at the same time, it's so interesting because they're the same type of interaction, and there's still
Sure.
similarities there, but they're so different in the way they carry themselves.
Yeah, that speaks a lot to everyone's talent.
And like kind of
Yeah.
everyone has more confidence. Like everyone's like figured out something about their lives. Like I feel like at the orphanage, everyone is sort of like, I don't know what I am because I'm not really. Like,
I'm just trying to survive this horrible
yeah,
situation.
like I'm basically like, I mean, I can't imagine what it's like to be at an orphanage where you're basically a product that people come and like pick one of you. That seems
Here's our
rough.
newest model.
Oof. Like having
Come to
interviews
our
with
show
like
floor.
prospective families, like that's got to be miserable.
The thing that I love too is that like Jolene is completely in control of and understanding of her situation in the orphanage, and like her
Exactly.
confidence as a character never changes. Because like the thing is like she knows she's older, she's black in the '60s, she's a girl. No one's adopting Jolene. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, and she fully knows and is aware of it, and takes that kind of in stride and kind of understands like, okay, cool, like I'm not leaving here, so let me make the most of it, and let me make the most of my situation here, and then I'm gonna hit the ground running and kill it out once I get out. And like she does, and like when you see her at the end, the character is a perfect representation of like what you fully expect her to be when you meet her
Yes.
as a child.
Yeah, like you feel kind of like bad for her, but you're like, I'm not worried
I'm not
about
worried.
her. Yeah, it's like she's
She's
got
gonna be
it.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
God, that show's so good.
so good. And we've gone really long. So let's move over to Star Wars because we still need to talk about Mandalorian. Let's just skip the Lego special, other than the
Sure.
time travel hijinks are hilarious. Other parts of it, not so much. They really did Poe a bad one.
Are we doing
So-
spoilers now?
Yeah, let's go to Mandalorian, throw up spoilers, and James is going to run away because he's behind on Mandalorian.
Hi.
Oh my goodness, James, these are the best episodes.
I know, right? He's already taken off his headset. Chris says these are the best episodes, so...
Well, I was watching Queen's Gambit, okay? 3 hours.
Oh, man.
Is he gone?
He's gone.
Holy shit, dude.
Right? These episodes
So-
are really good. Or go Bo-Katan?
Yeah, so
I-
Bo-Katan,
I could always
Katie
use more
Sackhoff.
Katie Sackhoff in everything.
Katie Sackhoff looks like she jumped out of fucking Clone Wars.
Yeah.
The character looks perfect. The armor looks perfect. The way she carries herself is perfect. Like the way that character was translated to live action was perfect.
Perfect. And the thing is Katie
Um,
Sackhoff, I love Battlestar Galactica. I had no doubt in my mind that Katie Sackhoff was going to nail it in live action.
No, absolutely.
Like it's
so-
it's like it was one of those cases where you're like, I think they cast her in Clone Wars because of like Galactica, but not thinking, oh, she's gonna be in live action someday. But they picked the perfect person who could translate the character in both spaces.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would assume that being the voice of Bo-Katan gives you some kind of insight as to what she's like,
Yeah,
what she would be like in live action. So like, there's no better person to cast.
yeah, no, it was like that was a case where like I still like I'm interested to see Ahsoka, but I don't know what my brain's gonna do when I hear a voice that's not Ashley Eckstein. Like
Right.
it's kind of like how I have the opposite problem now when I watch Star Wars and it's not Matthew Lanter but Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
So it's like Lanter's voice is Anakin for me now, and it's just weird when it's not him. But like, so yeah, that episode where we see other Mandalorians, they address head on the "this is the way, don't take off your helmet" thing,
Yeah.
full on.
Which
As like,
we all kind of knew.
yeah, we all kind of knew, but I'm glad it was addressed because then you could sit there and be like, well, did they take him off because cartoons and kids, or are they all supposed to wear the helmets? It's like, nope, he was part of a cult.
Yeah. So obviously my dad hasn't watched Clone Wars, or he's watched the mainline, like the films, and then now Mandalorian. So he has no context of like Rebels or Clone Wars. So I was explaining to him the Bo-Katan stuff, and he was like, well, how good are they? Blah, blah, blah. And then before we even see because we see them take out the guys on the ship and save Mando and the child. And my dad was like, "Well, how badass are they?" And I was like, Bo-Katan could mess up Mando. Like you don't even know. And so I love that we just spent a season and a half building up how badass Mando is and how insane of a fighter Mando is, and then in a half hour showed that he ain't shit.
Yeah, and that's what's so crazy too is like if he'd been in that fight with the Quarren on the dock, he would have won, but it would have been like the boxing ring fight scene where it would have gone on for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, admittedly, Bo-Katan, there was 3 of them, but it's over so fast.
Yeah,
and it's because
like,
they are just
even in the ship,
that good.
Bo-Katan takes out like 4 stormtroopers with a knife.
Yeah,
in like 30 seconds. Not even 30, like 10 seconds.
Because the thing too, this is something they pointed out. Like I think in the galleries on season 1, like you see Mando, he's a badass, but he loses like it seems like he loses at least one fight an episode in the first season.
Or he gets knocked around a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
he gets knocked around quite a bit. He gets beaten up. He wins, but he's had to fight his way to victory. And this one was a case where it's just like she's unstoppable.
Yeah, like she doesn't get touched.
Yeah,
and I love the sequence where they're like, I think I trapped them. Where'd you trap them? In the cargo control bay.
I know. I remember hearing that and just like, oh god.
The cargo control bay.
Yeah,
and just like flying out the window.
And then I love her like put the tea on.
it's so good.
I
love the reveal that she's looking for the Darksaber. I love all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm waiting. Yeah, I haven't talked to my sister yet about watching Mandalorian, so I don't know where she's at, but I'm waiting for questions about her, and I'm already going to just be an asshole and just be like, I keep telling you to watch Clone Wars and Rebels.
It's so good.
Then the next episode, where we see Grief Karga and Cara Dune again, was also just like spot on from beginning to end.
Yeah.
I also love the bit about there's no guardrails on this thing.
Yeah. I do. I love the transition. So there's 2 parts that got me in this episode. There's one was the holy shit, it's Snoke in the tube.
Yeah, exactly.
And like worries me a little bit because again, I think we talked about this before. I don't want Mando to be the cameo show. I don't want Mando to be like the coincidental everything's connected show.
I've heard Star Wars Explained has a theory that it isn't actually Snoke. His argument is that what he thinks Moff Gideon is up to isn't tied into the First Order at all, but instead because they talk about blood transfusions, that he's trying to essentially become Force sensitive through blood transfusions.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, again, it's maybe this is a red herring, but it's like the red herring that
it's the red herring that's
like you really irritate me.
But
and it's not even like a dislike Snoke. I just think like, dude, not everything needs to like connect this way.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's that, and then it's subtle, but it's the end part where the rebel pilot is trying to convince Cara Dune to join the Republic.
Yeah, I like that sequence too.
And it plays the rebellion theme in the background.
Yeah, it was such a good moment, and I love the fact that these 2 X-wing pilots are just like they're basically doing the beat in the Outer Rim.
Yeah, dude. They got Trapper Wolf out there doing his rounds.
God, you can't cross the wolf, man. Like, you do anything wrong, the wolf's gonna get you. It's gonna trap you. Because he's Trapper Wolf.
It's so good. So good. But yeah, these episodes have been great. So spoilers. Have you looked up the name of the next episode and the
I have
director?
not,
Do you want to
but
know?
I know who the director is. I know it's
Who?
Dave Filoni.
Yes, it is.
I
And
haven't
do you
seen the
want to
name
know
of
the
the
title?
episode.
Do you want to know the title of the episode?
No, because I really actually do enjoy it being chapter whatever, and then I hit play, and then I actually get the name when I'm watching. I really enjoy
Okay.
that. Like Eris got me really excited when I saw that name because you didn't know until I hit play and had gone into it a bit because I
Yeah.
skipped the intro, and I was just like, "It's Bo-Katan. It has to be Bo-Katan. There's no other explanation but Bo-Katan." And so I kind of don't want to know the name of the episode, but the fact it's being directed by Dave Filoni, it's got to be an Ahsoka one, and it wouldn't shock me at all if the title's name. Actually, you could tell me if I'm right.
Okay.
If the title's name is The Apprentice,
Close.
okay, I'll take a close. But yeah, I have a feeling, especially when I saw it was Dave Filoni, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be the Ahsoka episode.
Yeah. It. I as soon as I knew Filoni was going to direct the later episodes, because we got the list of directors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so as soon as Filoni was in like the later episodes, I was like, he's directing the Ahsoka episode. He has to,
Because
right?
he has to. I don't think he would be willing to let anyone else near that character.
No, absolutely not. Ahsoka is, out of all Filoni things, Ahsoka is his child.
Yes. So like I saw his like where it listed him as like directing the episode. What is this going to be, 5 or 6? 5.
5.
Yeah. The moment I saw that, I was like, oh, this is the Ahsoka episode. And I guess here's the next question. Like you said, Apprentice was close. I'll take one more guess. Is it Vader's
Okay.
Apprentice?
No,
Okay.
it's the. It starts with the.
Okay. Okay. I'll be pleasantly surprised on Friday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I knew it was the Ahsoka episode, and
So I'm excited to see her.
I
don't
am
know.
too.
You know, I'm curious how this goes. I also like how now they're weaving in so that like Mando's side missions are still story driven.
Yes.
Where like I think in season 1 he had a lot of side missions that were just like, this has no bearing on the plot. Like,
Where all
don't
like
worry about it.
I think about the Krill planet one.
Yeah.
All that really did was set up his connection with Cara Dune. Everything else was kind of inconsequential.
Yeah, like yeah. There's a lot of episodes
Yeah,
in
bottle
that first
episodes.
season. What's up?
They had bottle episodes in the first season.
Yeah, which are fine. Like I'm happy having those.
Oh,
But,
one of my
like, I
favorite
think-
episodes is a bottle episode. It's the one where they break out the passengers on the
Yeah.
prisoners.
Like,
Like
I
it's
was just gonna say like that's one of my favorite episodes, but like that has zero bearing on any plot
Mhm.
for any of the show until this season where they reference it, but where the pilots reference it later, and like that's where they almost get caught. But,
yeah,
like
which I appreciate because it means that a bottle episode has long-term consequences.
right, which is fine. But again, like it's a typical Filoni thing where the
Yes.
first season is very like, I don't know what this is yet. Let's just try a whole bunch of let's
Yeah,
throw everything
it's-
at the wall and see
You
what
could
sticks.
tell, I feel like, especially now with this season, that it's clear that Favreau was following Filoni's playbook.
Yeah. Which is like, these are cool ideas. Let's see if people like these ideas. And then once they know what works, then they're like, cool, let's shift focus on here. And then like that's what all Filoni things, the shows take off in the second, third season.
They take off in the
So-
second, third season, and that's where he introduces stuff from the bigger, especially with Rebels. That's where they really actually start to introduce bigger pieces of the puzzle.
Well, like, that's where you figure out who Fulcrum is. At the
Yeah.
end of the first season, you figure out who Fulcrum is.
It's literally like the
Spoilers-
last scene is, hey, it's Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And then we
Spoilers
get
for
Rex
anyone
in
that
the next
hasn't
season.
seen Rebels.
I mean, we have a spoiler warning up for Mando, so.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, if you haven't seen Rebels, Fulcrum is Ahsoka. So Ahsoka is introduced at the end of Rebels
So-
first season.
I'm really excited on the sense that what Ahsoka at the end is like Gandalf the White. She Gandalfs
Yeah.
herself. I'm excited to see Space Gandalf Ahsoka.
I know we're getting Ahsoka. That's fine.
Yeah,
I'm curious if Sabine is with her.
I hope so. because I want to see some like this. That's literally, I know, a bit of fan service. It makes sense.
If I see a pink Mandalorian flying around with flamed armor, I'm gonna flip out.
I know. Like I'm really excited to like. I hope Sabine shows up.
Dude, even when the Mandalorians show up in episode 11,
I know.
when
I was
they
like,
show
is
up,
this gonna be Sabine? Is it gonna be Sabine? It's not Sabine.
no, when they show up and it is very clearly Bo-Katan's armor.
Yes.
Before she even takes the armor
I meant
off,
that
you know it's her.
you know his Bo-Katan's armor. I was wondering if like does Sabine like succumb to like the normal paint job? And it was like, nope, it's not Sabine.
No.
Good, thank God, because
Also,
Sabine
I'm
wouldn't have
glad
the like normal
they're
paint
really
job.
they're really figuring out like how to use their guest stars,
Yeah,
because it's a thing of, I think last season they had Cara Dune do a little too much like talking, and it's not like Gina Carano is a bad actress, but like it's not her strong suit.
yeah.
She's
She's
there
great
to
in the
fight.
action sequence.
Yeah,
She's
she's there to fight and like do cool stuff. Which
she's
they
there to
all- they-
fight and have that smirk on her face. Like,
Yeah, and with Sasha Banks, that's what they did. They gave her like one or two quippy lines, and then just had her do cool stuff and
Yeah.
give expressions, which she's great at.
exactly.
But like, stop making your wrestler MMA people act. Like that is not what they're there for.
You have Giancarlo Esposito. You don't need like you're fine
Okay.
with acting. Like you're fine. You've got this.
Yeah. So I'm super happy to see them really figure out like, cool, this is what we're doing and this is how we're using people. Because my worry was like they're gonna have Sasha Banks like have a lot of lines and like
But the
make her
thing too
act
is you
and, like,
have like
have her do
also
important things. And I
a
was like,
very-
no, dude, she's just doing cool stuff.
yeah, you also have a very capable actress, both in who has done action and is also a really good actress in Katie Sackhoff. You don't need the other side characters to
Yeah. And again, like
Handle
it's just
that.
cool that like, oh, cool, that's like if you know, cool, that's Sasha Banks, WWE superstar. That's cool. But also, if you don't know who Sasha Banks is, you're just like, cool, she's a badass Mandalorian.
she's a badass
chick.
Mando. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no reason for that to be a big deal. It's like the Bill Burr thing too. Of like, oh, cool, that's Bill Burr. And if you don't know who Bill Burr is, you're like, oh, cool, that's like some snarky, funny,
Right. Like they've
mercenary
done
criminal guy.
they've
right?
done
Like-
a lot of their like I think he is another example of where a guest star you didn't expect but actually was like really good for the part.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Like,
like
To
these
me,
two episodes.
the only idea of bad casting to me in this entire show has been the overuse of Amy Sedaris.
Yeah, I liked Amy Sedaris. Like, I thought she was a little approaching a little too much in season 1, and season 2 I felt like they crossed that.
Yeah,
Um,
the only thing I liked about Amy Sedaris was the line she has where she's like, "I would trust her with my life,"
Yes.
and then she's like, "Okay, what does she want to go?" She's like, "I don't know, I just met her." Because that's how you say you trust her with your life.
Yeah, it's I could have used a little less. What's her name? Pella?
Is that her character name?
I think that's her character's name is Pella.
Yeah, I don't know. She's like a little overacting. I mean, and
Mhm.
I understand Amy Sedaris's shtick as a comedian, so that's fine. I get it, but like I don't need it.
Yeah, we have the pit droids. You can. I'm glad though they brought the pit droids back as a side note.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, like that's a Filoni thing because Filoni loves the prequels. So like,
yeah.
Filoni
Well,
needs-
that's the thing
you
is
know.
prequels are dripping in here, man. We got MCAL. That's totally midichlorians. We're getting Bo-Katan. We're getting Ahsoka. I'm like, oh, everyone who's like, oh man, this is what Star Wars needed to be. It's just like, yeah, Filoni's on this. You don't think the prequels are gonna just start dripping in and then come in full force? Yeah, we're about to get full force. Prequels. Midichlorians, they're even in Mandalorian. You just can't win people who hate midichlorians.
Yeah, I love how they get as close to saying midichlorians as possible without saying midichlorians.
Yeah, which I think is intentional, just to mess with people because they know people like you and me are gonna pick up on that and be like, it's midichlorians. And other people are going to be like, what's M
We've
count? And
never-
we're all going to
we've
be
never
like,
seen- We've never seen a blood sample with counts this high. You're like,
you haven't
okay.
tested Anakin, have you?
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. What are you getting at, guys?
It's just like, oh man, like I just love that happened because it is like the most like it's a very subtle prequel reference that is going to just come full for like full. They're going to go all in on it, like eventually, and explain that. But I just love the fact that gets dropped in there because you know that there's some people who, the moment they realize what it is, they're going to just be really upset, and it makes me laugh. It's like, because I remember when before Force Awakens came out, talking to like someone, and they're like, "Yeah, Abrams is going to get rid of midichlorian count. Like they're going to get rid of midichlorians because he doesn't like it." And I'm like, then this happens in Mandalorian. I'm like, "Yeah, how's that going for you?"
Yeah, I've learned to just whatever Filoni wants to do, just let Filoni.
Just let Filoni do it. It's going to be great. Oh man, no, I did love these episodes.
They're great.
They're great, and honestly, Baby Yoda doing like the "I'm on a roller coaster" hand raising thing.
Yeah. To me, the moment of the episode is him trying to. So, as someone that has a small child,
Oh yeah, the macaroons.
having him try to fix the electrical of the Razor Crest
Oh yes.
I felt so hard.
It's
it
like
reminded
this
me-
is gonna go bad. You know it's gonna go bad. Oh my god, it's gonna go bad. Like stop, and it goes bad.
And it's the best thing is like it reminded me of the best moments of the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie with Groot, with Baby
Oh
Groot,
god, Baby Groot. Yeah.
where they have him go get the fin, and then or when he's the scene they overshowed in the trailers with the button.
The bomb. Yeah, and the button.
Yeah, like all that stuff is great.
Oh. No, it's. I think also you got to give credit to. It's one of those scenes where it's God, my brain just melted. I think that last episode is just. It felt like everything they did was just nailed. Like they hit it just right.
Yeah. Oh, shout outs to so I always thought swoop bikes, like the Imperial swoop bikes, are the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Like I've thought that since I was little, since Return of the Jedi. I was like, these are the coolest fuck guys. And they have the best Stormtrooper helmet with
Yeah,
the
Scout
visor.
Trooper. Yeah.
Yeah, they have the best visor helmet, and they have the coolest bikes, right? And so when they shoot out of the base, I told my dad. Me and my dad both go, "These are the coolest dudes."
I know. I love
Ever.
that entire sequence. And of
And,
course, you
like-
know they're all going to
and-
die, but you're just like, oh,
Well, like,
man.
So I told right when I said these are the coolest dudes ever is right when two of them crash into each other on the way down. You're like, come
I
on,
love
guys.
that bit. Come on. You should be better at this by now.
Dude,
Oh,
it's a
man.
thing of like they didn't even get to the starting line. They were on the way down.
Yeah,
And they
I
just
also
crashed into each other.
love how this explains why there were so many troops in
Yeah.
town. And it's just like, oh, Gideon actually had a major presence there, and you just never. They were just really quiet.
Yeah. Which I feel like for the Empire at this point, they kind of need to be quiet.
Mm-hmm. Because if they are too loud, they get catch
Yeah,
the
they
attention
get-
of the New Republic, as toothless as it is.
Yeah.
But they have Trapper Wolf.
That's when you get Trapper Wolf on your
yeah.
ass.
If you got Trapper Wolf on you, your little light cruiser is about to go up. I do want Trapper Wolf to blow up Gideon's ship. No, we need to talk about this. It needs to be done by Trapper Wolf.
I want Trapper Wolf to destroy the third Death Star.
Yeah, like Wedge pulls away, and it's like Trapper. I can't. This needs to succeed. We know it's got to be you.
I want Star Wars special editions with Trapper Wolf.
Trapper Wolf at Endor. Oh my god. Yes, we need more Trapper Wolf. In fact, I'm not a fan of spin-offs. I do not want a bunch of spin-offs, but we need a Trapper Wolf spin-off.
Well, someone brought this up of like I would watch Trapper Wolf and the whatever that Asian, because the Asian rebel pilot is also someone. I can't remember who it is, but he's also
He's
like
an
a
actor,
Star Wars,
but he's a huge
like
Star
a
Wars
longtime
fan.
Star Wars, no, like employee, like a Star Wars, like a Lucasfilm guy.
Is he? I thought it was
Yeah.
like I thought he was an actor.
I don't remember. He's
Because I
one
know
of
he's
the
a
ones,
huge Star Wars, like he was like a huge Star Wars fan, but I don't think he's actually a Lucasfilm alum.
I don't remember because I remember I've seen him before, and I'm like well aware of him as a person. He's one of those people where you look at him and you're like, I know him from somewhere, and I can't remember if it's from like Star Wars panels or someone. I've seen him before around Star Wars. But like yeah, I would watch a buddy cop series with those two,
Oh yeah.
like just patrolling the galaxy.
Let's see. Did he do any behind the scenes stuff? Yeah, I'm scrolling through his IMDb. No, everything he's got listed is actor.
Okay, yeah. What has he been in that we would know?
That's what I'm looking through. Let's see. Nothing really
Because
stands
he looks
out.
so familiar.
I know, that was my thing is I'm like I thought I knew him and
was
then
he in
realized I didn't.
Hey, was he in Men in Black 3?
Scrolling. Oh, he's in Degrassi. I never watched
No,
that, but that's how a lot
I never watched Degrassi.
he was in the
But-
rebooted RoboCop,
Okay.
like Dark Matter, lots of like
Yeah, but-
Canadian sci-fi and Canadian shows it looks like. Yeah, I like don't recognize any of the things. But you're right. It
looks-
was one of those cases where he looks super familiar to me, but he's apparently a huge Star Wars fan, which is why he was brought in on this.
Got it.
Because
yeah,
like
he
they were
just-
like, hey, he's a huge Star Wars fan, and we need like this guy for this role. Why don't we give it to him? I think that's what happened.
He's the perfect guy to be like the old jaded like but still passionate dude. like the beat cop. Like he's the perfect beat cop.
Yeah, he's perfect at that, and he also I love the fact that he was like when he talks to Cara Dune, he's like, yeah, I was like basically it was sounds like he was like, yeah, I was serving at the time during Alderaan. So it's just like not only has he like he's been in the fight
Yeah.
for a long
And-
time
Also,
and knows how to speak to someone else who's needing to rejoin it.
yeah. Also, I feel like his recruitment pitch was a little aggressive.
Yeah, it was.
Like, hey, I know your planet blew up. Sorry about that. You want to join the cause? Like,
yeah.
bro, I don't know if that's the way.
I don't know if that's the way either, but you could tell that Cara Dune is just like, because given how many Imperial forces that she went against, because it's obvious that her big thing was taking out Imperial people.
Yeah.
And then once that fight went away, she kind of lost her purpose. But like realizing that they're a bigger deal, I think his pitch may have come on a little too strong, but it was definitely a pitch she's interested in because obviously there's something bigger going on with the old Imperials.
Yeah, I could see her joining back up with Rebels. Well, technically, isn't she a deserter?
I think so.
So
I think she's technically a deserter.
Wouldn't she be under like penalty if she came back?
Well, that's what gets weird is to go into like deeper into the lore. The Rebel Alliance was officially all volunteer, so you could like leave really at any moment, which explains like half of the shenanigans Luke and Leia and Han get into, is the fact that they could literally like the Alliance didn't like sign you to like a contract or anything.
True.
I have a feeling the New Republic didn't do it that way, and that's but at the same time, like that's probably not why Cara Dune joined up. And so, even though I have Like, she either deserted or was a little excessive in the execution of some operations against Imperial officers, as in they probably ended up being executions rather than like apprehending them.
Right.
Like, she obviously was there to kill imps when she joined up with Mando to fight at the end of season 1. It was fighting the Empire. I'm in. Like, it went from being like, I'm happy here, no one's bothering me, to okay, I'm in. So obviously for her, it was always fighting the Empire and getting a bit of vengeance. And I have the feeling like when it went from Rebel Alliance to Republic, they couldn't look the other way anymore.
Right.
Because something I would say that the new canon has done a really good job of is establishing that there were some shadier things the Rebel Alliance did. There were some covert ops. It's the whole Cassian Andor shooting the guy in the first scene you meet up with him. It's like the Rebel Alliance, yeah, they're the good guys, but they're still like... They are still in some morally gray areas.
Forgot that series is coming.
Yeah, I think production got pushed because of the pandemic.
I always forget about that series, though.
I'm excited by it. I think it's
something. Yeah, I'm super excited for it, and it's not like I forget about it because it's something that I'm not excited for. But it's like I just forget about it. Like there's so much stuff coming down the pipe.
All right. Well. Yeah, no, I think I'm looking forward to the next 2 episodes of Mando. It's going to be I think this is going to be like kind of like how season 2 of Rebels kind of flipped everything on its head, and you like realize, like, I have a feeling that we're still like on the edge of that.
I'm curious where they're going with this child story, because
Me too.
Is like the show's called The Mandalorian. But is like the child's become like the secondary main character.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he is kind of the MacGuffin.
Exactly.
And so it's like, at a certain point, he's going to go away. Like theoretically, if the show continues, like he's going to go away. Because the mission, like, eventually, man is going to go on another mission, right? Unless this is the mission and the show's over. Which I doubt. Yeah,
unless they intended to be like a 2-season series, but
well, I mean,
I know that's not the case.
3rd season is already greenlit, so.
Yeah, it's beyond greenlit. But it's. Yeah, I honestly wonder, like, are we gonna lose Baby Yoda this season?
Yeah, like, do we lose him, or like...
Or does Ahsoka point Mando in a different direction?
Yeah, or like, does, someone had a theory that the Mandalorian doesn't refer to Mando, but it refers to Baby Yoda, and so Baby Yoda is going to be a Mandalorian, like the Mandalorian at the end.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, we'll have to see where that goes. We've been talking for 2.5 hours.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, I think that about does it.
We could probably go another hour if you want to talk more about Queen's Gambit.
I need to eat. It's time for a late lunch for Logan. So yeah, I'm sure we could talk about Queen's Gambit some more, but we're gonna call that for today. Please like, share, subscribe, do all those fun little things. You can find us on the socials. Feel free to send any questions to feedback@quality3.net. James is still sequestered himself away, so there's gonna be this weird awkward moment where I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna end the stream, and there's gonna be no one sitting in the chair. So enjoy the empty space. See you in 2 weeks.